Crossover. Oh, killer crossover. Just crossover. It just crossed him over. Danced to it.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Crossover.
You got to turn it on, Matt.
Crossover.
There we go. We got there.
Holy cow.
I'm sorry, I was distracted about Peter Krenzer, who's got too much time on his hands. You're telling me that this man in 3 days is watching all 12 Nolan movies?
He's watched all of them except for Oppenheimer. He might be watching Oppenheimer right now.
That's a lot of Nolan in one day.
That is so much Nolan.
Yeah.
He's going to come back a different man. He's going to talk in like a British accent after.
Yeah, I talked to, because I was texting with him earlier today asking when he was going to see The Odyssey. But yes, so he started on 3 days ago. It was 3 days ago, Monday. He watched 4 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 4 yesterday, and 2 so far. He's probably watching Oppenheimer at this moment in time.
I feel like I'm a little worried about his mental state.
What do you mean?
That's just a lot of emotion and different
that's life,
tropes,
though, isn't it? Isn't life full of emotion?
I don't know. Like after watching The Iron Claw, I don't think I could just go into a movie right after that. You
Iron
know what
Claw.
I'm saying?
We did that in Movie Club, right? That was the wrestling movie? Oh, boy.
I bawled my eyes out.
I didn't.
Well, can I tell you why?
Sure.
My father didn't have brothers. Okay, so
Because
he
they
always
all died
told
in
us
motorcycle accidents.
no.
Okay.
He just didn't. They just weren't born. Josh.
Oh, okay.
He had 2 sisters. He didn't have any brothers.
I didn't know. I just didn't know.
So he always said, he's like, I didn't have brothers, but God gave me 2 sons, and so it was just always kind of that thing. We had that like emotional, like
You're one of those sons,
fathers and brother type deal,
Sure.
And then at the end of the movie, when Zac Efron goes, "I used to be a brother," and the little kids go, "We'll be your brother's dad."
That's pretty good.
That killed me.
That was pretty good.
Killed me.
How about the fact that the movie cut out one of the other brothers who died also in a weird, horrific way?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. There's so much death in the Von Erich family.
They were like, we got to change
make
this story to take out one of these horrific deaths.
Well, also too, I mean, Jeremy Allen White was pretty phenomenal as Kerry Von Erich from an acting perspective, but man
he was completely underwhelming from a physical standpoint.
I mean,
he's
a short man.
He's about a foot shorter than the real Kerry Von Erich.
Most actors are, right?
Kerry Von Erich has one of the greatest physiques in all of wrestling history. Like, and coming from an era where, I mean, it was all about the look, and he just, it was bad. It was not.
Yeah.
Like, how people were very up in arms about the Odyssey casting. The wrestling community was like, are you kidding me?
The guy who played Ric Flair. Oh boy, they hated him.
The 5'7", Hanes underwear model is playing Kerry Von Erich.
I mean, they do have to. I mean, not every actor is tall. Most are actually not tall.
But they could have done better than Jeremy Allen White.
Yes,
they could have done a lot better.
I didn't have any
everybody else
takes.
is very well cast.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't because you wouldn't been familiar with the individual.
Did you ever see the Young Rock, that like TV series?
No, I never did.
I mean, it's just,
and neither did anyone else. Apparently,
it's just The Rock telling us how awesome he is and like promote.
Really, The Rock? No,
yeah, I know, very unlike
That's
him, right?
incredible.
Where they go ahead and they have a scene. You have to look this up. The Young Rock wrestling locker room, and basically they have like Paul Levesque, but he's like in his fancy AAA, like when he was like the showman or whatever. They have Undertaker, they have Mankind, they have like all of these actors who are supposed to be pro wrestlers, and it's even worse than Robert Kraft in that one Aaron Hernandez
saw that
series. It's even worse than the LA Clippers. Yeah, look at these guys. I'll tell you exactly who's supposed to be who, too. It's awful.
And what is this again?
So that's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What did they do to Undertaker?
That's supposed to be Triple H.
Why does it look like Chuck Mangione?
Stunning, when he was the stunning whatever. I don't know if that's
D'Lo Brown, right? Is that
it
who
might
that
be
was?
Derrick Henry.
I don't.
Wasn't he in the Nations of Domination?
Yeah.
I don't like what they did to Undertaker.
I don't know who this guy is.
Zachariah Smith.
That looks like Booker T. Or not Booker T. That looks like Mr. T.
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to, find.
It just goes to show you, though, how much. Look at Mankind. Look at him. That's the guy who played Mankind. Look how disgusting that is. That is awful. Does that look like Mick Foley in the slightest to you?
Not really.
It's terrible. It's hard casting wrestling.
It is hard. It is hard to cast.
They're so
it's hard
different.
to cast certain athletes, right?
Well, God, remember that, John, when we were discussing season 1 of what was it called? Showtime? Is that what the Lakers show was called?
Yeah,
And there was a
yeah.
lot of discourse about how well they casted characters because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, super tall guy. I thought that the casting for him was pretty good. I thought the casting of that whole show was pretty.
I
good.
thought the casting for Magic Johnson was insane.
Yeah, it
that
was
guy,
very good.
That guy
good.
looked exactly. I thought the casting for
Man,
Larry
that
Bird.
season 1 was really good.
And then what happened?
And then it went downhill.
Yeah, because like there was a lot
And
of
then they had to rush the finish.
NBA was mad and people were mad.
Jerry West was
and
mad.
Jerry West was mad, and then
I'd be
they.
mad too.
And I don't think
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think it got that many viewers because I think hardcore sports fans were taking it too seriously, and then non-sports fans were like, "Why do I want to watch a sports show?" Whereas I loved it. I thought it was great, but I also went into it thinking it was satire. I wasn't mad about how Jerry West was a weirdo. Like it's fine. It's a show.
What was the? Wasn't there an LA Clippers one about Donald Sterling?
There was. I never watched that show.
that one.
Don't
That they
remember.
I think it was
casted
from the same people who did the Aaron Hernandez show.
Well, they casted Blake Griffin.
Yeah, how did that work?
It looked awful.
So that's why sports movies about like the super famous people or basketball, it's just really hard because they need to be tall.
I feel like we could use like a draft day type sports movie that's actually good.
Yeah.
That's like that has we haven't had that in a while.
Well, but just the whole premise of doing a movie around the NFL draft was quite the reach.
No, I think that you could have made that a
No.
good movie. I
It's-
could rewrite.
it's a
I
draft.
could
Let's
rewrite.
not make it out to more than what it is.
But
It's
this
a-
is
it's
once
an
again
office
Josh
movie.
making a great point here, where it's like you want it to be realistic, and in your
No,
mind,
I don't want it
drafts
to
are
be
boring.
No,
I don't want it to be realistic. I
John
just,
thinks drafts are boring.
I mean,
I love
generally,
drafts.
I know you do.
well, drafts are fine for sports fans, but for making a movie out of it, not so much.
What if we made an MLB trade deadline movie? we did a 90-minute MLB trade deadline movie.
John, just
I
to
mean,
push back a little bit.
if you could make it a satire, that'd be kind of
John,
fun.
just to push back a little bit, the show that we very much enjoyed talking about a few years ago, Succession, essentially is a show about the NFL draft, but it's not the NFL draft. It is who's going to take over for the job. It's just a very talky show. Why can't a draft a very talky thing? Why can't that be intense, and filled with where's this going to go next?
No one went to his
Again,
birthday, Sonny.
I think stuff like that can only it obviously depends on the writing, it depends on the kind of characters you have, but that's the kind of stuff that only nerdy football people would be like, this is interesting.
That deal's
I don't
no
know if you
longer
can
on
make
the
it
table.
interesting to the rank and file.
Come on, Tom, you pancake eating MFer.
I never saw that movie.
Because I want
What
David
movie?
G.D. Putney because I feel
Draft
like
Day.
it.
Draft Day.
Draft
You never
Day.
seen it? You
No.
would hate it.
No, it looks ridiculous.
You would be. It would.
That's why I don't want to watch it.
I loved it when I was younger. That
Oh,
was like
boy.
the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, where I thought of them so much more fondly, and then I rewatched them.
It looked ridiculous.
And I was like, "That is kind of bad.
Yeah.
This kind of sucks."
It looked horrible, so I was like, "No, I'm good." And then I heard it was horrible, so I was like, "Sweet, I made a good decision," and saying, "No, I'm good."
Spider-Man 2 with Jamie Foxx was one of my favorite movies of all time, forever.
Yeah,
And then my buddies were like, "No, bro, you got to go back and see that thing because
Yeah.
it was
Not very
terrible."
good. Yeah, that's
Same
tough.
thing with In Time with Justin Timberlake.
That is unsurprising.
That's
to me.
such a wild pull. Like you are the only other person I know who's watched that movie.
I don't know
It's
why
me and you.
I watched that movie. I don't know what like for a man that doesn't watch movies, that being one that I watch and love.
That's pretty wild.
It's an interesting concept, but it feels like it'd be it's a more interesting book concept than
Yeah.
movie concept.
Well, I was a Timberlake guy.
Yeah.
I was a JT guy. Like I watched SNL and I was like, that guy's gonna make it. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that's when you realized he was
Yeah,
going to
I
make it
was
when he
7
had already made it.
I was 7 years old and I was like, that guy's got a feature.
This is a good topic, though. Movies that you loved and then you rewatch them later on and you were like, wow, this is not as good as I remembered it being. You know what one is for me?
one of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Definitely not. Black Sheep with Chris Farley and David Spade. I was someone growing up who was always like, that movie might be better than Tommy Boy. And I think I watched it during COVID and I was like, never mind. It is nowhere near as good as Tommy Boy. It just wasn't as funny as I remembered it being.
When I was a teenager, I really loved Dude, Where's My Car? And there's still some quotes of it that I'll do once in a while, but I rewatched it also during COVID with somebody, and it does not hold up at all. A lot of the jokes aren't really.
Okay, now that's a difference, though, Nick, of the joke's not holding up versus thinking it's funny still.
I mean, I also didn't think it was funny.
Okay. Because, I just didn't think Black Sheep was funny. It wasn't like, oh, it aged poorly. I didn't care about that. It just wasn't as funny as I remembered it being.
By the way, can we make a quick observation that we are one consonant away from having an all-time leaderboard here at Royal Birkdale? The leader is who's Suber. What's his first name? Do you know? Suber.
Jackson, I believe.
and then you've got Im. Is that how you say it? Im,
yeah.
and Brown. If you change the B to a P, you'd get the reaction of someone coming out of a tanning salon.
I'm super brown.
I'm brown.
There was what was the movie Monsters in the Attic or something like that? It was like a comedy movie that I loved growing up, and I thought
I don't even know what this is. I know Monsters Inc. Are you talking about Monsters
Inc.?
Inc?
I'll tell you this. Do you know what
Monsters
movie I
Inc.
watched growing up that still does hold up? The first Space Jam movie. That
Aliens in the Attic?
Aliens in the Attic.
Never heard of this.
I loved that movie growing up, and then I watched it when I was 16. I go, this sucks.
Yeah, came out in 2009. I've literally never heard of this. Nick, do you know about Aliens in the Attic? You were 12 when it came out.
I remember seeing the previews for it and thinking it was dumb.
Looks pretty awful. I don't even recognize any. Oh wait, Tim Meadows is the only person that I recognize in terms of voicing.
They just look like crappy off-brand Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but also the Mucinex monster.
This is why Nick's against it. Because,
why is that?
Because it's great value brand.
Nick is hoity-toity.
Yeah, Nick's favorite Ninja Turtle is definitely Donatello.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, because like he's
why?
I like the boat staff
because Donatello's a technology guy and he likes to be on the computer. And Nick is also a technology guy, so he looks.
Wait, Donatello's the purple one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a nerdle.
So he's a nerdle. Yeah, and they always make fun of Donnie being like a real nerd.
Okay.
But he kicked ass with the boat staff.
So growing up, going to school, Nick was also always called a nerd, obviously, and people would make fun of him about it. And so he'd go home and watch TMNT on Cartoon Network and relate with Donnie.
Why'd you put the emphasis on Cartoon Network like that? Cartoon Network.
I mean,
is this true? Quinn writes on the YouTube chat, I've never seen McMaster hit a fairway. Is that true?
This is one of my good buddies. We golf all the time. Quinn sucks.
So I believe him. If he golfs with you, that's boots on the ground journalism right
Quinn
there.
and I played the most entertaining 9 holes of our entire lives when it was men and women who were your age, who were going through a midlife crisis, who were overserved on the golf course, partying like they were 22 again. Awesome. Like blasting music. So one guy had an air horn. It was just blowing the air horn on the golf course.
That would be deeply upsetting.
We were so mad. We were the 24-year-olds and we were the adults on the course.
Yeah.
Wait, so this is recent then?
This was last weekend.
Okay, I was going to say, because you're 24 right now.
This was last weekend, and it was at Heaven Hill or
Heaven's Gate.
I don't know.
That website is still up, by the way.
Nice job, John.
The Heaven's Gate website, that's still up.
Oh, I didn't.
Is it heavensgate.com?
I'm not positive.
There it is.
I'm not searching that.
Look at that, baby.
Click into it.
Of course, the guy who's in a murder cult immediately can go to
what? You just got to go to
heavensgate.
heavensgate.com,
John. Cult?
No, you're not in a murder cult.
Okay.
I guess the web.
I don't put
paying for the server. That's what I want to know.
To order a hard
Probably
copy
Josh's
of our
murder
book.
cult.
I love learning things, John. That's all I care about.
Learning things so that you can then pass them on to the rest of the members.
That's why he's always reading about Germany.
One time I read.
Hey, congratulations on 27. Congratulations.
27.
Your 27th book. He read his 27th book yesterday.
No, that was 2 days ago, but thank you. I
You're
appreciate that.
very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank
Look,
you.
I keep up
just
with
so
him
triggered.
reading books.
You're just so triggered.
How am I triggered?
I can tell. I can tell you're triggered.
Oh my God, I got a Kindle.
Yeah. I'm not bragging about it, Matt.
I mean, you're always showing it on your Instagram.
You don't have to click into my
I've seen
stories.
more pictures of Kindle than your beautiful dog on your page
I put
recently.
up a photo of Banksy today. Did you see it?
What is that? What you call your Kindle?
No, it's my dog. Check it out, Matt. It was from the 6 o'clock hour this morning when you were still asleep. I was up and at it.
I was still asleep.
I know you were. Meanwhile, I was working already.
God, I wake up at 6:30. It's awesome.
Well, that's.
By the way, speaking of work, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Josh Otson tweets out on the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. A Big Red overreaction number 3 is set. Can't wait to share this hosting combo with you all when the time is right. And then the Thomas Fedoni shush emoji. So North Dakota.
Oh, so Josh is doing it with Thomas Fedoni.
So Josh just scored a touchdown against Northern Illinois. Is that what just happened?
You know that story, right? Do you know
I was there.
Do you know the story?
I know.
Me?
That was my first. Wow, these people are bat-esque crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
That was my first.
Wait, what?
That was. This whole
you don't remember the Thomas Fedoni thing?
I remember the story, but I don't understand where's your connection.
My connection is just like everyone's like, oh, Husker fans are super passionate. Husker fans are this or Husker fans are that. You know, it's just a different type of
Husker
fan
fans
base.
Are triggered.
And I'm told about this, and then all of a sudden I saw it all happen in front of me. I saw your tweet. Yeah. I then saw his reply, right?
Yeah.
And then I then went to the Northern Illinois game. I was in the press box. I see him score the touchdown. I then see him shush
Husker fans.
And I look to Cole Skukenholtz and I say, did he just shush his own fan base? Is that just what happened?
And so Cole knew the story.
And Cole goes, did you see the tweets? And I said, yes, I did. And he was like, yep, that just happened. So yeah.
So as I recall, so it was late in a Friday show.
Correct.
And you said, what
you said something along the lines where he's been disappointing or he hasn't.
We were talking about him on the show. We were talking about Fedoni on the show. And so I don't remember exactly what I said.
I think it had something to do with the fact that you just didn't expect him to ever become.
That's what it was. Exactly what it was.
That's exactly what it was.
You never expected him to become an All-American. You said something along the lines that time is over. Like that time of thinking about that is past.
Right.
And so
which wasn't. I mean, was it critical? Yes. Was it like mega critical? No.
Really? I mean,
so someone tweeted at you.
Somebody tweeted at me
because they heard it.
This is hilarious because John is tagged in this tweet, but you can't click into it. So John, good job by you. He must have untagged himself from this conversation because it was just a tire fire.
Oh, that's Iowa JD.
So so Iowa JD tweeted at me. That's the thing that people forget this part of the story. I wasn't out on Twitter just blasting Fedoni.
No, this was something said on the show.
So JD said, does Rule know Thomas Fedoni was available? If you refuse to use him, I hope he just goes to Iowa so at least we can make him a first-round pick. And I responded. I tried to hit on it a bit this week, but I think it might be time to put hopes of him being awesome to bed. That's all I said. And so
that was the phrase, yeah.
So I'm at a soccer match that night. I'm calling a soccer match for Creighton.
Yep.
And halftime shows up. And I take my phone out, and I'm like, why do I have 100 mentions?
Oh, that's gonna
I was so confused. I was
fearful.
like, what? I don't even know what happened. And so I'm trying to scroll back, and people were obviously being very nice to me. It was lots of kind responses.
Very kind responses.
And I was like, John and I talked about it the next week. I think this is the first time I've ever talked about it on this show. I was blown away because I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I wasn't calling him out on the air. I was just giving my opinion. I was right, by the way. He never turned into an awesome tight end.
Correct.
He was fine, but also it wasn't his fault. He got injured a bunch. That's the thing that people lost on it. I wasn't trying to be a jerk, I say stuff knowing people are going to get pissed. I've never been so surprised at something I said.
Once again,
that's why.
In other words, it's very similar to the whole Trey Taylor crap.
Seriously, where it's like, where also I logged on to Twitter. I was at Lowe's or Home Depot, and I was like, "What in the world? What's up with all these mentions?"
Yeah, that's once again why I reiterate that this was the moment where I was like, "Oh, this is different. Like this is just this is different." Because once again, growing up where I grew up, I've heard people say 10 times worse things than you did about putting it to bed that he's going to be great.
Correct.
And nobody giving a damn.
Dude, last week somebody got mad at us because what was the topic we did, John? The pros and cons. We did a pros and cons list.
Yeah.
And some Husker fan got mad. I can't believe you're doing this before year 4. And I always want to say to these people, how does your fandom exist? Do you go to a party with friends and one of your buddies is like, man, I don't know. I just don't know if this quarterback has the goods. And it's like, oh, it's year 1. Let's settle down. Do you never have a discussion with somebody in your life about how good or bad somebody is?
There are some people though, if there is a vacuum of negativity, there are people who feel like it's their job to not
gatekeep.
You know what John and I have called those people for many, many, many years?
Idiots.
Well, yeah, but mainly defenders of the program.
Sure.
Defenders of the program. They even have their own song.
To me, it's always just been simple. If things are bad,
simple.
Things are bad.
Saying he's the defender of the program?
No, I'm saying if just things are bad, things are bad. Just say they're bad.
Yeah,
just say it's not great.
I agree.
Did you? I know John never listens to the show. Did you listen to
Kool-Aid? Yeah, I listened to the Kool-Aid and I listened to the Simple segment today.
Did you like the Kool-Aid questions?
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
I'm more proud of the name than the questions.
Kool-Aid questions.
The Kool-Aid questions.
Because my theory on Kool-Aid is that how you drink the Kool-Aid is you just ask a bunch of questions and all the answers are yes.
Yeah.
To the questions. That is the definition.
Because you want to get excited.
Of hey, if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, they'll win 9 games.
Right.
That's a lot of things that have to happen.
Isn't that crazy too? Where I was looking at all my questions I wrote and I was like, if all of these things did actually occur, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, they'd probably still go 10-2. Even if everything went
there's no world where every question is answered in the affirmative and they're undefeated. That's impossible.
Well, there probably are more teams that are.
Well, yeah, but not Nebraska.
Yeah,
not Nebraska
at all.
And he says, Josh, they are people of the land. Morons. Yeah, don't have to be angry all
I
the
feel
time.
like there's a war brewing between is Indiana a winnable game or not on 16-20 the South.
And you and I are on one side, and I think John is with the morning show on the other side.
I could not believe the because I spent a whole hour talking about what are we doing, and I didn't even hear the Happer promo.
Oh yeah, they have their
had
own.
no idea that promo stemmed to your promo. Or did you? Well, you just said it on the Sipple interview, and then Sipple agreed with you.
Well, but Sipple actually started this whole thing two weeks ago when he talked about the potential of that game, and as he talked, it was like it does make some sense. I'm not saying they're going to beat Indiana. I'm just saying.
They might.
To shut your mind completely off. They're not going to be playing the Rams.
I don't know.
These are not the LA Rams. I'm
Pretty
sorry. Good. If Kurt Cignetti wants to use this as bulletin board material, go ahead. And, by the way, maybe schedule a team that isn't, a high school squad. They're not the Rams. They're not even the Seahawks or the Bucks.
Well, they're a college team.
But that's what I'm saying.
They'll have a lot of guys who will play for those teams, and Nebraska doesn't.
We're building up this team into some kind of a super team, and they may end up being back in the playoff. But
we only have a few minutes left, Matt. So if you want to argue with him, you got to make it snappy.
No, I'm not.
I can't believe you brought this up at like 2:16.
I know what I'm doing.
No, you don't. This could have been a great conversation, and now we're gonna have to go soon.
I did a John Bishop impression today with Nick Grimm during the he was prepping some questions.
I was prepping the thing that we're going to do tomorrow.
Tomorrow's bit. Yeah, that's fun.
Tomorrow's
we're giving away great prizes.
Prepping tomorrow's bit, and I started answering the questions and being critical of the questions as if I was you.
But you weren't really upsetting me because I just kept saying the same thing over and over.
No, I know, but it started getting into the I'm not saying it. I go, I'm John saying it.
Oh.
And Odson was like, this is exactly what Bishop would say. Don't worry, I'll tell you off the air.
John, here's a question real quick before we go.
Yeah.
How many teams would you not give them any chance to beat this year in college football?
Oh, in all of college football?
Yeah. So I'm talking like Georgia.
Texas.
I wouldn't
Texas,
say
LSU.
Notre Dame.
Any chance?
Yeah.
0.
Okay, but like if we were putting them in the might win, won't win,
Well,
how many teams would be in the won't win?
Well, and Indiana might be in the won't win when we get to that exercise. But remember, the won't win defines a small to minuscule chance, or maybe a 0 chance. But we're not talking about Bowling Green. Going up against Indiana.
So I'll say this: if you're arguing off the principle that every game is winnable, that there's no every game you could ever play,
every game you have a chance.
You have a chance. Then you and I couldn't agree more with you. But if we're because I agree that I said that in my segment. I go, this is the reason why we play the game. You got to go out there. You got to play the game.
Right.
You can win. Everybody can win every game, right? But if we're just going off of the I feel like when you say it's a winnable game, you're almost communicating you wouldn't be shell shocked if it happened.
No, I will not be shell shocked.
Okay, I would be.
I'll be surprised.
I'll be shell shocked.
I'll be surprised, but I will not be shell shocked.
I'll be shell shocked.
No 1,000-yard stare for John if they win.
No,
I will be shell shocked. I won't believe that Nebraska will beat Indiana until it's 0-0 and they have more points than them. That is when I believe Nebraska.
What if they're up by 14 with 5 seconds to go? Will you?
You know what? It's Nebraska. Anything can happen.
But Cignetti might wave his magic wand and a miracle will happen.
I don't know. Maybe he is just a time traveler and he plays every game.
He could be.
Hey, actually, Cignetti's just the controller of the simulation, and he just rage quits every game and plays it over again.
You know what?
Until he wins.
Sindelar says any given Saturday, Nebraska can lose in the funniest way possible. That's a fact, Jack.
Well, that is true too.
That is absolutely true.
Isn't that part of the fun?
Mm.
Is that you don't have to squint super duper hard to see them win, but you also don't have to squint hard to see them doing something catastrophically bad.
That's 2020 vision.
By the way, I don't think you have to squint at all. I think you can just look at the screen. I think
that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, you don't have to squint very hard.
I love it. We got 2.5 or 1.5 more months of this. This rules. And then 2.5 months until the Indiana game. No, is it 3 months from today?
Doesn't that suck where it's okay, so the season begins at the latter part of August, but it's still another 3 weeks until they actually play like a team that you would give a damn
Oh,
about.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
why the
worst.
NFL is far
This is
superior.
NFL preseason.
It is the worst. It's like, because I'm thinking like, oh, August 28th is when the season starts. I'm like, well, it's not really until like the end of September.
It's NFL preseason all the way.
See, but I bet on NFL preseason.
We know. We talked about that
Well,
this
we
week.
know this because you have a disease.
No, because you want to have a little fun.
Maybe. Maybe.
Hey,
Maybe.
acknowledging is the first step.
Exactly. And you are my therapist.
Nice.
I don't think you want me as a therapist.
I think it'll go.
I don't think you want me as a
I think it'll
therapist.
go just about well as Nebraska playing Indiana.
Yeah. This won't be a hold your hand. You had to talk. It'll be like, why are you doing this? Stop doing it.
Matt having John be his therapist is not a winnable game.
No, that is not a
definitely is
winnable game for
It's
either
definitely
of
not.
us, by the way.
I think we'll just
well,
be-
it could be for me because I'll end up billing you like $200 an hour or something.
Good for you. That's a great rate.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that for you.
Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. There's your crossover.
Good to see you, Matt.
Always great to see you guys. I'm paid to, but it's always great to see you.
All right. We will
100%.
have a Grum next on 1620 The Zone.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO. Don't miss a moment, they'll give you your fix. They're on every day from 2 until 6. Spend your afternoons with John, Josh, and Nick. John, Josh, and Nick. They'll show you what sports talk really is.
Oh, here we go. It's Thursday, so now we don't have to care.
God, thank God. We always are talking about how little we care, but we're not allowed to say it.
Thursdays become everybody's favorite day on the Grum.
Oh, it's a
Because
great
you
day.
just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO.
It's good to see all the English people still showed up to the golf after yesterday's heartbreaking loss. I figured they'd all be buried in their huts or whatever they live in there in England.
Dude, how many conversations are happening there right now that are about the soccer yesterday? They're very rarely talking golf.
I didn't know why we lost. Oi!
Speaking of losing,
I'm doing Josh doing a
oi!
bad English impersonation.
Hey, we lost. It wasn't
I can't believe it.
I'm
I
gonna
tried to
have some
watch-
fish and chips.
I tried to watch the some of the British people taking calls on big British soccer overreaction.
Oh, how'd that go?
It was hard because I can't. I mean,
I can't understand you.
it was like what's his name at the beginning of our movie last week.
Michael Caine.
No, not Michael Caine. I understand him.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. His accent was way too Cockney.
Yeah. Cockney? Is that what they call it?
Yes, Cockney.
And I'm like, speak English. I wanted to
Would
yell
you
at the
like me
TV,
to speak your
English.
It's just a different. Hey, have you ever been to the South and you talk to a Southerner and you're like, what? I remember I was in Arkansas a little over a decade ago, and my friend and I, who is also from Nebraska,
Yeah.
we were having a conversation with a guy, and he went on this long soliloquy. My friend Corey goes, "Dude, I'll be honest, I have no idea what you just said." It was his Southern accent was deep.
My great grandfather, who was extremely Cajun, like after World War II, he spent his life hunting gators. That's what he did.
Nice.
Never understood a word he said. He would just go like, "Oh, shrimp ball."
It's like, what's his name in Waterboy?
Well, there's that. But have you ever seen? Have you ever seen video? It's out there of Ed Orgeron talking Cajun.
To
people?
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's basically it's an entirely different. Well, it is an entirely different language, but speaking that deep
I love that Creole
Cajun, and it's just like I don't understand a thing, but this is so mesmerizing.
My favorite thing about my great grandfather, granddaddy is what we called him, is his name was Buford, which is the most Cajun sounding name
It's
I can think of.
it's a very Cajun name.
Yeah, he was in the Navy in World War II.
By the way, you mentioned, John, you started off by saying losers. And as you said that, I saw a tweet about a loser. You were talking about the English, how they were losers.
That's right. They lost.
Dabo Sweeney is speaking at ACC Media Days.
He's a winner. Two-time.
You're not allowed to defend him.
Two-time national champion.
Yeah. First of all, those days are long gone. Those days are way over. Also, he said on going with their returning quarterback, Christopher Vizina, we weren't going to go get a shiny object at quarterback. If it doesn't work out, we're going to be raked over the coals. What's going on with this man? Does he just not want to win football games anymore? It's quite sad.
I don't know.
I figure he'd want to win.
I don't know.
I figure he'd want to win. That's fine. You don't have to want to win. People can want to lose, and that's what Clemson football wants to do.
I don't think they want to lose. They're just not winning.
They don't want to win.
Used to.
Yeah.
They're basically back to what Clemson used to be.
Yeah, maybe even a little worse. I mean, there were some Clemson teams in my youth that won 9 or 10 games, and now they're like a 6-7 win team. You know, what were they last year? 7-5?
I don't
They
remember.
were terrible last year.
I don't remember.
6-6?
I don't remember.
Let's see. Last year they finished 7-6. Yikes. They were 7-5 in the regular season, and then they lost 22-10 to Penn State. Oof.
22 to Penn, 22 to 10 to Penn State and to Tyke Hayes.
Oh, let's go.
They lost to Tyke Hayes.
Uh-huh.
Grumdown Sports are back, kind of.
We got golf on. Baseball's back tonight.
Well, there's like a game tonight.
But that's back. When opening day happens, if I would have said, no, John, it's just one game, you would have tried to choke me.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have said I agree. It should be like
it's the
opening
Giants.
day. No, it should be opening day should be every team play. Instead, no, we got to do one special game.
Okay.
Brian Fremo of BCF Toys is going to join us here in a little bit.
Nice get, Nick.
Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com will be along.
Oh, nice get, Nick.
Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports. He's got a new job.
Nice get, Nick. Nick, you killed it today.
He did. We have
Thank you.
a supersized edition of 100 Days to College Football.
Supersized. We're going to do 2 segments?
No, it's a supersized segment. It's a big segment.
4 segments?
No, it's not a segment. Big segment.
We're going to run through the Nick's clock. Is that what we're doing? Say, throw out those breaks, Nick. We got to extend this segment a little longer.
See.
Okay.
We'll make it work somehow. It is Thursday, so I don't care.
You can say it loud and you can say it proud. They tried to tell you not to say it, including us on Mondays, but you're allowed to on Thursdays.
You don't care.
That's a good merch idea. It's not Thursday yet.
It's not Thursday yet.
But
we need enough people to understand the bit first, so we're going to have to give it some time. But yes.
That's when you know something is starting to transcend the show. We need stories from our listeners in their lives where, like, they go home and their wife says something and they say, honey, I know it's Tuesday, but I don't care.
But I don't care.
We need to find these stories.
Yeah. Did he or didn't he? We
What?
have
OJ?
We haven't.
If he did it.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Oh,
Well,
John
perhaps
has
this person-
evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Does Nebraska need to be more fun?
Ooh, that's a
Fun.
good topic.
And who is Tyke Hayes and where does he come from?
Pennsylvania.
He does. And so that's where I wanted to start today because I don't know if you saw this today,
Or heard about this?
but, Tyke Hayes, kudos to Sean Callahan over at Husker Online. He found the story first.
Yep.
He wrote about it again today in his 1, 2, 3 column, his regular Thursday gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Gimmick.
Used in a positive way.
Wow,
Gimmicks are positive.
unreal.
And they could be negative. But I'll just read a little bit of what he wrote. Getting Hayes is almost too good to be true. This was a guy Ohio State wanted out of high school, and he opened eyes over his first year at Penn State. But a lot has changed in State College since he arrived there with James Franklin's departure. If Hayes would have played a full season at IWCC, Iowa Western, you can bet he easily could have been one of the most coveted JUCO backs in the country if he put up the numbers people were expecting. For Nebraska to get him in this fashion is a major win.
Who said that?
That was Sean Callahan. He later, in the same column, because he does, 3, 2, 1, the one is a big prediction.
Oh.
You know what his prediction was?
Tyke Hayes will be the starter in game 1?
Tyke Hayes will have a 100-yard game sometime in the first 3 games of the year.
Okay, I mean, that's kind of an offshoot of he'll be the starter in game 1 of the season. What's going
Am
on?
am I taking crazy pills or something? I feel like we're like everything else. Everything goes to extremes.
You're saying Sean is being an extremist?
Well,
extremist Sean Callahan?
But it's either it almost feels like this is wish casting this into existence. I just want to present a few facts, and this is not to say that Tyke Hayes
he might be shushing you before you know it, John.
can't have a good career or can't be a good college running back. But this was a guy who got 3 carries last year. 3 carries.
And they all came in the bowl game against whack-ass Dabo.
Now, we all understand that Penn State had a good 2-headed running game last year.
Yes.
So they didn't need him.
Yeah, correct.
They didn't need him. But, he had a great career at Aliquippa, which is in Pennsylvania, in Class 4A.
Is that their best class?
No.
Okay.
6A is their biggest class.
Okay, so this would be like a Class C running back?
The enrollment of Aliquippa, I looked it up because I was curious. I'm like, okay, what kind of competition did he play? The Aliquippa High School enrollment was around 430. That's about the same as Beatrice.
Okay.
So we're talking about a mid-level Class B school.
Oh, I thought you were calling him mid.
At least in terms of the enrollment. I realize Pennsylvania's a bigger state, so
sure,
you have a lot of bigger schools.
Yeah.
But so you've got that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the limited experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question he changes the roster because we all thought preseason Nebraska needed to get a transfer running back. They needed to add to that room.
Correct.
But then here was a guy who was willing to go the JUCO route, was out there, right?
Yeah, in theory.
In the transfer portal, and for whatever reason, either there weren't enough people to meet his money offer or whatever the case may be, but he ends up going to Iowa Western,
real quick,
which, by the way, isn't just your average JUCO.
No, they're
it's
very
a
good.
great junior college national championship program.
Did you see, or have you heard Happer and some of his research into this situation over the course of the last couple of days? So apparently the Penn State people were literally wondering, where did he go? They had zero idea, and he resurfaced at Iowa Western. And the reason that they found him was there was like a photo of a practice, and some Penn State fan was like, is that Tyke Hayes, our former running back? That's how they figured out where he went. So he hopped in the portal, and then he completely went off the grid.
Right.
And he ended up at Iowa Western, and now he's at Nebraska.
Which is kind of weird in its own way. But I feel like I need to pump the brakes here a little bit. Now, I realize this is also
extremist Sean.
It's not extremist Sean.
Make a graphic, Nick. Sean Callahan, extremist.
I realize that this is also the same program where there are people that, because of really one big run in a spring game, are ready to give Jamal Rule the starting job.
I disagree. That's not why. Because I am one of these people. It's because they were constantly talking about how really good he was performing, and also I think the rest of the room is garbage. That's why I've been thinking he could be a starter this year.
But I don't know. This all seems a little bit too much too quickly.
Well,
I think it can be good. Yes, they brought in a running back. He certainly has some chops. And I know a lot of people, looked at, Ohio State's late run at him when he originally committed to Penn State. And that's all well and good. But I just think we need to, let's slow down here a little bit. He's just going to be getting to school. And at least Jamal Rule had a spring.
He's had a whole spring. He's learned the playbook. He knows his teammates.
And we're already talking about this guy, having a 100-yard game in the first three.
If this is true, this is more of
seems a little quick to me.
It's almost more of an indictment on the room than I thought that there could be possible.
Hold on. I thought Barthel said that they really, really like their running back.
Definitely. Yeah.
And people were willing to report that.
Yeah, definitely.
But in the same breath, this guy who literally just shows up on campus and has played 3 snaps in college football.
Well, 3 carries. He's played more than 3 snaps.
Well, 3 carries in college football is going to set the world on fire.
D'Lo makes a joke that I was going to make. Google Jordan Stevenson. Yeah, I'm going to pump the brakes.
Oh, I forgot about Jordan Stevenson.
Remember friend of the Grum, Jordan Stevenson?
No.
What did he say? That because a Wisconsin guy said that that Wisconsin is an iPhone and Nebraska is a flip phone.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Let's not have it go out there that we have the new Jordan Stevenson.
That was tough.
I just wanted to pump the brakes a little bit and let's see what happens.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Sorry, there were comments about Dabo Sweeney. We can save those for later on.
Well, of course, you were always on Dabo's side.
But now I'm off of him. I'm off of him like I'm off of the running back room. Yeah, I don't have any strong opinions on this running back just yet. I am gonna wait. I'm gonna wait and see.
Yeah, let's all take the Jordan Stevenson approach. Well, we didn't take the right approach for him, but let's imagine ourselves and say, remember Jordan Stevenson.
I know that you're a big Bill Simmons guy, so you'll get this reference. But he often, Nick, will talk about some settled down juice. People need to take a little settle down juice.
Oh, okay.
Is that what they need to do?
That sounds like a good idea. Well, coming up next, Brian Fremo, who
Let's
runs BCF Toys. We've been quoting his numbers here the last couple of weeks. He's going to join us.
Awesome.
Next on 1620 The Zone. Hey, don't forget, we've got the Road to Wrigley, your chance to win 2 tickets to see Nebraska volleyball at Wrigley Field in September. We'll get you there with round-trip airfare. We'll also house you with a 2-night stay in a downtown Chicago hotel, also $150 in spending money. All you have to do is go to 1620thezone.com and register today. Be listening for that reminder on the Road to Wrigley drops played throughout the day here on The Zone. But 1620thezone.com is the place to go to register. All brought to you by Union Bank and Trust, where your money has people. Member FDIC. Let's go to the hotline, the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. We've been quoting his numbers here for the last few days here on the program. And for the first time, we bring him on. It's Brian Fremeau behind the BCFtoys.com site. Brian, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks, and hope you are having a great summer so far.
Summer's pretty good so far, although those wildfires are starting to blow in my part of the country. How about where you're at?
Really? Oh, where are you from, Brian?
I'm based in northern Indiana.
Okay. Wow. Wildfires.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's just hot.
It's just very hot. Yeah, hot and steamy.
We've got that too. So it's all of the above.
Oh, okay. You get it all there.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious because, we've had Kelly Ford on many times, a good friend of the Grum, Bill Conley of ESPN. We love to quote, a lot of these different power rankings. When it comes to your rankings criteria at bcftoys.com, how much do you get in and dive into the formula and tweak it as the game changes, or as you look at things that maybe impact the game more than maybe you originally thought?
That's a good question. I've been working with my numbers for the better part of 2 decades, and certainly there's some level of scrutiny and tweaking of sorts to make sure that the what I think should remain consistent year to year does. And what I've actually found is that I actually don't have to do much tinkering. The number of points per possession remains pretty stable across 15 years or so. If it's climbing or shrinking a little bit, it's small variations, and the way I apply that kind of baseline number, that's really fundamentally what I'm tracking, and is your possession efficiency. What are you doing with the 12 times you get the ball, and what are you doing when your opponent has the ball 12 times on average a game? And I've actually found that I don't have to do much tinkering. So the off season's a little bit of resetting some, updating some pages on the website and getting some tables put together for the year ahead. But I don't do as much tinkering as some of my colleagues. Bill and Kelly and others. I know. I think we're all trying to make our systems better, and I certainly approach it that way too. But I don't have to do as much adjusting year to year as you might expect.
So when you can compare like this year to 10 years ago, or however many years you can go back, there is a consistency, and so I guess there's a level of confidence that you have there that, I can compare these numbers today to numbers from 10 years ago, and you feel like you can draw a better comparison.
Yeah, and actually one of the things that surprises me is that especially in the era we are in now, with much more dramatic roster changes, with the NIL era and transfers, et cetera, that I would have expected that consistency to drop off, that there would be much more volatility year to year. But believe it or not, the 2025, last season's preseason numbers, which I would have assumed, I guess, going into it, would have performed worse than 10 years ago's preseason numbers because of that volatility. They actually were better, and they were as good as they've ever been. So in some way, it's like you trust your instincts, or if you go with just your instincts, you might discover when you look under the hood that things are a little more stable. And I think some of the reason for that is, just broadly speaking, I'm not really saying did I nail every single team. It's more of there's 138 teams out there, and if you get 80, 90 of them about right, then yeah, you're going to miss on the margins, and that's where your numbers in season have to adjust to it. But largely, teams perform pretty consistently year to year, and if you approach your preseason numbers like I do that way, it's a good enough starting place for me.
Yeah, Brian, I wanted to ask you about that because when you put out your preseason projections in June, you made sure to include the fact that your preseason predictions will continue to ignore roster and coaching change factors, priors only, which I think is probably a big surprise to a lot of our listeners. I know it was for me, just thinking all of the changeover in head coaching and coaching staffs, but certainly as the portal has become even more in vogue over the last decade, that is maybe not as volatile for team by teams as you would expect it to be.
Exactly right. And I think about it this way. You can say a team like Indiana, our defending national champions, came out of nowhere 2 years ago. They certainly did relative to prior year performance. And if you looked at exclusively at that team, my system missed them by a mile because it would have predicted them to be a 3-9 team forever, possibly 2 years ago. And instead they turned themselves into a champion almost overnight. And if you isolate on one team like that, you might say, oh, these numbers are worthless. You didn't get Indiana right. Although I did have them in the top 15 going into 2025 because of how well they did in 24. But at the same time, the system was pretty much dead on with Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon and Alabama and Notre Dame. And I think when you think about the one-offs or the one or two teams that fall off dramatically or rise dramatically year to year, you sort of miss that, 75% of the teams pretty much played according to schedule. So I guess I think about my preseason numbers as less of a accurate prediction and more of the baseline your program ought to be going into the year. And let's see how you actually do in comparison to that. So, that might not be setting the expectations where the fans want it to be, but it's probably the fair way to approach how good a team should expect to be going into the year. And then those roster changes and coaching effects and things that I might not be able to easily measure or predict are the difference between, teams rising and falling when they do.
Brian Fermo joining us. He runs the site bcftoys.com. Well, this transitions perfectly into what was going to be my next question. And for those of you watching in on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. I put up a graphic because one of the things we observed as we were going through some of your numbers on Nebraska is how deadly accurate you have been on Nebraska when it comes to your preseason win total and what the actual number was. Now, 2022 is the outlier because that was a year where Nebraska was expected to be a 6 or 7 win team. And obviously things went south very quickly. Scott Frost gets fired mid-season and the numbers tank. But 2023, preseason, you had Nebraska at 5.3 wins. The actual number, 5. This is regular season only, by the way. 2 years ago, 5.9. Actual number, 6. And last year, 7. Yeah. And this year, you got Nebraska at 5.5. So, I mean, you've been really, really close on where Nebraska is. I'm curious, as you kind of poured through your numbers this year, and I know I don't know how much you dive in team by team in terms of what your formula spits out, but I'm curious, how you came to the number this year of 5.5 wins for Nebraska.
Sure. Well, it starts for me with just their overall rating, which again is an overall efficiency number that I call FEI. And Nebraska's been relatively consistent, and which is why it's probably spitting out a middle of the range win total kind of year in and year out. And then the variation, frankly, probably has much to do with who's on the schedule and where are those games being played. And with the way their Big Ten schedule shakes out this year, I just pulled it up in front of me. Yeah, that 5.5 number isn't a reflection of Nebraska taking a nosedive as in terms of the strength of its program, but the schedule gets tougher. You got Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State all on the schedule this year, and those are 3 of the top 5 teams in my projections, and you throw in Washington and Iowa and Illinois, who are all in the top 25. Those losses are going to add up for a team that's projected to be merely, I think I've got them around 40, 45 overall. Like
44, yeah.
44. So I don't have Nebraska. Maybe I'm underselling Nebraska's ceiling a little bit. Maybe I'm overshooting it, frankly, because if things start to snowball in the wrong direction, I've seen that happen to teams all over the country. It could go the other direction too, but my numbers aren't saying that Nebraska's incapable of being a top 25 team.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting them out at 44, and it's looking at a schedule with 3 top 5 teams, 3 other top 25 teams, and saying you're going to win one of those games, maybe, right? Like, and if you're only the 44th team in the country, and so if Nebraska's a little stronger, a little more efficient out of the gate, that number might revise over the course of the year. I don't really update my win totals as the season goes on, but the idea is certainly in play that maybe by the time the middle of the season strikes and they're carrying an undefeated record into that home stretch, it looks more like an 8-win team because they might be a 50-50 game in 3 of those games, that kind of thing. But so there's a math behind it that includes both the projected strength of the team as well as the projected strength of the opponents. And as we said at the beginning, if you're not going to get every team right, then that's where that variation is going to come into play.
Brian, obviously we can't see your predictions going into a season going back before 2022, but it wouldn't surprise me if those numbers in the Scott Frost era in particular, if they were, a little higher early on and then things went sideways, because that was usually what was happening for a lot of folks around the country. So like in a weird way, is Matt Rule so far through 3 seasons, is he kind of like reaching that expectation and the program is in a way rebounding after years of underachieving what those preseason predictions were having them at or what they were supposed to be?
Yeah, no fan base wants to hear, hey, you should be happy winning 6 games a year. But I know where your question's coming from is even incremental progress sometimes isn't happening as fast as you'd want to see it. And if you are performing at a elevated but not elevating quickly enough, it's hard to rally behind that or get excited about it. But certainly, yeah, the last 3 seasons are better in the aggregate than the 3 seasons prior. The last 4 are better than the 4 seasons prior. So in some way you could say progress is happening, but you could also look at it and say there's some stagnation here. This program is floating between the 30th best and the 70th best team in the country in these numbers. That's not good enough, or we need to see a more linear pathway or a bigger leap forward, like some of the other Big Ten brethren have done. And that might be where the fan expectation meets that kind of core question of, are we progressing as fast as we should be? Are we moving the needle where we need to move it?
Brian Fermeau, BCFtoys.com, joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. As we were breaking down some of your numbers a couple weeks ago, one of the things I noticed right away was every SEC team is inside of the top 25 of your ALS strength of schedule metric. This 9th conference game we knew was going to make a big difference, but could we be underselling how big of a difference this extra conference game is going to mean to the toughness of the SEC schedules?
It's a good question. I think strength of schedule generally remains relatively consistent, and you can think about it in the sense that power programs play a collection of power programs, and G6 programs play a collection of G6 programs that keeps those schedules mostly kind of stratified. The top schedules are always going to belong to the power conferences, and the worst ones belong to the others. But the idea that a single conference might distinguish itself in my approach to schedule ratings can absolutely happen when there's like a cluster of very strong teams, which is in the case of the Big Ten this year at the very top, and teams play all of them, versus you might only play one of those top 3 Big Ten teams this year and just sort of get the luck of the draw. I think with the size of conferences growing, it's hard to say that the conferences themselves get to pat themselves on the back for strong schedules versus teams within those conferences play some of the toughest schedules of the year, if that makes sense. That there's sometimes very big differences between the toughest and the weakest schedules even within a conference. I don't know if I fully answered your question, but that SEC top end, and especially if there's a collection of them in the top 20, top 15, that a number of teams play the majority of, or if not all of, then that is definitely going to pile up in terms of should we give those teams the extra benefit of the doubt at year end when we're having playoff debates? it should be a team by team question, not a conference by conference question, but sometimes they do kind of collate as a conference in that conversation.
Brian, big picture question for you. Given that you're the one who created the formula and you're the one inputting the data, like I have to imagine after years and years of doing this, you have a pretty good idea on what you are going to see when you put it in and it spits out a top 138. Any surprises for you with the 2026 FEI preseason numbers? Because I know for me, seeing Utah as high as they were, I was like, whoa, this would be quite the surprise, because you actually have them as the highest ranked Big 12 team in all of your rankings.
Yeah, they stuck out to me as well. I mean, and you think about the coach has left, the program isn't necessarily in turmoil, but there's some transition there that you wonder if even a stability over the previous years might be disrupted. Utah's been one of those teams that I think, especially last year, which is why it's kind of giving them a little bit of a boost heading into this year in terms of how much I weight the previous season's data. They were an efficiency monster when they played well last year, and though they didn't have a spectacular record that put them in position for playoff contention, when they were playing anyone else, they were just crushing teams in terms of maximizing possessions, and that for that reason they basically are doing the things that my numbers really like, and so yeah, they did jump out a little higher than I would have expected, but like I said, the number 7 team in the country doesn't mean I expect them to be in the playoff, although they are better positioned than maybe others in the Big 12 and maybe relative to where you would expect them to be. But I would expect them to be in contention for the Big 12 race, and maybe my numbers aren't necessarily right about Utah, but what I like when there are outliers like that is it sort of calls attention to, what's going on there? Maybe we should pay a little closer attention to what this system is measuring. Whether we think it's valuable or not, it's measuring something, and that's even for me too. I don't just take for granted that the number is the number, but I say, what's happening here? And that sometimes lets me investigate. I'm not sure I'm going to need to tweak my formula around this, but I know what it's saying. And in this case, it's, hey, if you are overwhelming weak opponents, that means something. It doesn't mean everything, but it means something relative to what your expectations should be against strong opponents too.
Talking with Brian Fremeau of BCFtoys.com. Speaking of individual teams, one team that really stands out, now they're they're 4th in your overall rankings, but their win total is at 11.3, and that's Notre Dame. And I'm curious, as far as your numbers go back, have you ever had a power team this high in terms of a win total going into a season?
I'd have to look that up to know. It's possible one of those Alabama teams coming off back-to-back championships or 3 in the last 4 years kind of championships might have been positioned that high in terms of win total, but I sort of doubt it because they would have been playing a tougher schedule.
Right.
The Irish are very good. They have had a very good run in recent years, and the kind of run that has been climbing in terms of efficiency. So they are on a trajectory to be one of the best teams in the country this year. But the reason their win total is the highest is because the schedule is not what it has been. They do play Miami, but they get them at home. They do play BYU. SMU's not necessarily a pushover, but most of the schedule is teams outside of the top 30. And for that reason, they have a 90 plus percentile win likelihood in something like 9 of their 12 games.
Wow.
It might be 95% in most of those games. So the idea that they should be cruising to a strong record is really where that number comes from. Now, that doesn't mean it happens. Upsets happen. The Irish have lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost at the early in the season in recent times. But it also means they are well positioned to dominate a largely underwhelming schedule, and if they can play the best teams on their schedule like they have the last few years, neck and neck, or beat up on them a little bit, well, then they're definitely going to be at in the playoff and possibly one of the top national contenders.
Brian, last one from me. You talked at the beginning of the interview about the year-to-year correlation, where it's the sport can be static, even though it can feel so wild and volatile each and every week. Is there a similar correlation or lack thereof with your numbers in special teams? Because it seems like whenever we talk to somebody, whether it's in the college or in the pro football analytics sphere, that is always the one thing that it's like, yeah, it's a little wonky. Is it similar for you? Because at least around here locally, our eyes are on Nebraska's special teams, given that they're going to have a new coordinator, though a lot of similar players that they had a year ago.
Yeah, I think Nebraska was a top 5 special teams unit in my numbers last year, and it is less reliable year over year than overall ratings, and that's true of offense and defense as well. But special teams is the wonkiest, and the way I think about it again is, if you're competent and consistently competent in special teams, Iowa's a good example of that. Then you can maintain a pretty steady special teams rating year over year. And if you can maximize big returns, Iowa's a good example of that as well, frankly, then you're going to be one of the best teams because my numbers will give you extra points for returning kicks and forcing, muff punts, or all the things that are the kind of the unique special teams play. When I think about special teams, and I've talked to a couple of special teams coordinators over the years who are curious about what I'm measuring and what they're focused on, it's exactly that. There are high leverage plays happening in that portion of the field. For the most part, you take for granted competency and the errors that happen, or the big play potential is there, but those are almost outsized moments. And when you can push a few of them in your favor, but that's sometimes the luck of the draw. Like, did a fumbled muffed punt bounce your way, or didn't it? Did you get the one block that was needed to clear a kickoff return touchdown, or did you just merely return it to what would have been the same line as a touchback? And I think those kinds of things it's fascinating to me to unpack, because I think about football this way. There's 22 people on the football field doing something, and I'm trying to measure not every single thing that they're doing, but the aggregation of what they're doing.
Right.
And special teams is where maybe most of that variation happens.
Brian Fremeau, bcftoys.com. It's an excellent site. A lot of stuff on there, and we're going to be quoting it a lot this season. Brian, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the program, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great talking to you.
You bet.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian Fremeau joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Going back to Notre Dame, I mentioned
11.3.
Now, some people are saying, well, that doesn't sound that high. Remember,
Only play 12 games.
When we quote these wins, whether it's Kay Ford, whether it's here or Bill Conley, it's all based on probabilities, right? Every game has a win probability. Now, some people around here think Indiana 100%, Nebraska 0. But in reality,
I'd probably say 96%.
In reality,
Nebraska 4.
there's always a chance you can lose a game.
Yeah.
But to have 9 different opponents on your schedule, at least at 90% win percentage, that is enormous. To give you an example, so, we quoted, where Nebraska was. And if you had forgotten, like, for example, Nebraska right now, 5.5 wins. Their chances of a 5-win season are 29.6%. 6-win season, 27.8%. And then it kind
That's
of
almost
goes down
60% combined with just those two records.
Correct. 16.5%, 7 wins. Okay.
So then you're looking at 75% right there. Or
But
no,
there's a pretty
75%.
wide berth. For Notre Dame,
Yeah. What's theirs?
a 49% chance of winning all 12 games.
Whoa.
49%. 36% of winning 11 games.
So what is that? You're looking at 85% of 11-1 or 12-0.
And just to compare, the next nearest team in terms of who's got the next highest percentage chance of winning 12 games in the regular season is Texas Tech at 21.8.
Wow. And that's because, of course, they're in the Big 12.
Correct.
Man, that's wild. I mean, look, lot of time to go still before the season gets here, a month and a half. They have been my pick. They've been the team that I think is going to win the title pretty much the entire offseason. There'd have to be some things that would really shake it up in the offseason for me to change that. And then, of course, the regular season will arrive and we'll see what happens. But they are going to be very, very good. They are going to be very, very good. And, you talk about the motivation that teams have. I think you mentioned this week or last week, unfinished business as a slogan. We saw Nebraska use that 30 some odd years ago. Notre Dame feels like they, had one taken over them last year with the Miami situation at the end of the year. You imagine that they will use that very much as motivation this season. The really good stuff from Brian. That was fun to talk to him.
Yes, it was. So bcftoys.com, if you want to go and fish around on the site, there's a lot of stuff there for you to peruse as you get ready for the football season. When we continue here on the Grum, we'll revisit a subject we brought up yesterday. By the way, they had the Board of Regents meeting today at Michigan.
Oh, how'd that go?
Well, I don't see any black smoke, so I think everyone's safe for now, but we'll see. But that and more as we roll on. Also, Robin Washut on 1620 The Zone. Well, Michigan still has an athletic director.
Oh, really?
All the hemming and hawing and hand-wringing over Ward Manuel. Oh, he's going to get let go on Thursday. They're going to buy him out. Well, the regents meeting came and went. Nothing happened. Though the big stone wheels of Michigan corruption just keep grinding on.
What'd they do this time?
Well, I mean, they're just there.
Oh, I didn't know if you were
I'm sure
reporting
there's something new. I'm sure there's always something new in Michigan.
Always.
They have so many things. But we had a question yesterday. If that job does come open, should there be concern around here that Troy Dannon would be a candidate or would be interested in taking that assignment?
I mean, we've seen him very quickly, jump from, he was at Tulane for a while. Troy Dannon was at Tulane for, was it a decade or close to a decade? So I pull up his resume real fast. He was at Northern Iowa for 7 years. He was at Tulane for 8 years and then went to Washington in 2023 and then joined Nebraska in 2024. He went to Washington in October, and in March he joined Nebraska. So, I mean, it's not even a full calendar school year.
Correct.
As he arrived after the school year had started. And he had made a hire in that time, too, because Kalen DeBoer moved on to Alabama. So think about all the things that happened. Asked Sam that question, thought that I had completely stumped him yesterday, but something was going on. Something was going on with the phone system. I have to imagine, that would be a concern, or it should be a concern, because it's one of the jobs. It's one of the jobs, and he's very quickly become a climber. And, I know that there's some frustration around here with him as of late with some of the things he's done with ticket policies and reseating and anytime you're making a huge announcement with the stadium project, people are going to, probably have qualms with it, which they certainly did. But I think if you're looking at a big picture, I mean, if Eichhorst can get hired at Wisconsin after all of the idiocy he did in his time here, Dannon's resume looks stellar. And it doesn't look like there's any problem, maybe extending Matt Rule, but otherwise you look at him and you're saying, why wouldn't I want this guy? He's been a climber. He's done a good job. He made a good hire at Washington. He's doing a ton of stuff right now in Nebraska to kind of take him out of the Stone Age and how they're making money. Why wouldn't we want him? Why wouldn't he want to go there, given that it's Michigan, and you will probably get to hire their next football coach. Whomever their AD is going to get to hire their next football coach.
It is one of the prime jobs in all of college athletics. I mean, if you were to rank the top administrative jobs in college athletics, Big Ten commissioner, SEC commissioner, and then you're looking at athletic director positions. And maybe in some cases, a head coaching position, like head coach at Alabama, for example. But the Michigan job is in that pantheon, the Michigan AD job, because in this day and age, especially with the rapid fire changes and the power consolidating in just a couple of leagues, within those leagues, there are those teams, there are those schools, and Michigan is one of those schools who drive the bus.
Definitely.
Michigan has had their hand on the wheel and, at least a foot on one of the pedals of the Big Ten bus since the very beginning. And that would be a coveted job for anybody in that field.
Oh, gosh, remember a couple months ago when we were talking about private equity money, Michigan was one of the schools in the conference. It was like,
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
People are going to follow them.
And, to those saying, well, but what about all the scandals? Probably one of the best things about, should Ward Manuel be let go, whoever the next guy is, that person's their job is not going to be to really clean up any of those things, because a lot of the people that have been involved have either been let go or they've already left. And a lot of these are problems for the higher ups, whether it's the regents, the attorneys, the school president. It's not for the AD. For the AD, it's going to be to come in and keep this train moving. Because even despite all the scandals, the Michigan train has kept going.
Yeah, they have Kyle Whittingham now.
So
they upgraded a head coach.
So they have. So the next AD really is going to be walking into a unique position, but still a position with a strong advantage. So long-winded way of saying, absolutely. Would a Troy Dannon be interested in Michigan? Yes. Now, whether or not Michigan's interested in Troy Dannon, I don't know.
And most importantly, whether or not the job will come open.
Right.
You know?
But I think at some point the job is coming open.
It's just how long?
I don't think Ward Manuel's in this thing for another 12 months.
Yeah.
I think this week, even though things may have gone not as fast as some people were thinking or hoping it would, I think the writing's on the wall and the conversations have been there. I would be stunned if Ward Manuel is still in that job 12 months from now.
Real quick, before we talk to Robin, 402 texts in. They won the CFP a few years ago. Basketball this year. If Dannon gets offered, he'd be a fool not to take it. Yeah.
So it's worth watching, especially as things bubble up here, and we saw what happened with Trev. As shocking as that was for a lot of people, we saw what happened here with Trev, and I'm not so convinced that some of the behind the scenes stuff going on with his plan for the stadium renovation and maybe some other things, maybe stuff that was even going back to how Scott Frost was handled, I think helped get Trev out the door.
Definitely, 100%.
And he ended up landing in one of those types of jobs.
Definitely.
Maybe not as prestigious as Michigan, but close enough to be within distance.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up next, Robin Washut of Husker Online on 1620 The Zone. It's like clouded up today. Is this supposed to rain or something?
I think we need the rain, probably, John.
Do we need the moisture, Robin? Wash it. HuskerOnline.com.
Given that it's been like 2 billion degrees every single day, yeah, we probably need it.
Good take.
2 billion degrees.
My yard could that answered it for me. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny because in our neighborhood, everything's still very, very green.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, we did get, we got that.
We got a lot of rain a couple
weeks ago, but then it has been a little dry. Well, anyway, it is clouding
it
up.
Turns quickly. It browns quickly. I've learned.
It does.
Also, the bare spots that eventually get weeds that pop in, it like happens overnight. You go the whole spring, and it's like, oh, there's a bare spot there, but nothing, and then all of a sudden, poop, and there it is. Everything's filled in, but it's filled in with all the crap you don't want.
You said it.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Well, you saw an old familiar face yesterday in Lincoln. Tim Miles was back in town. How was it? Was it unexpected to you, or did you have a kind of an idea he was coming back?
Yeah, no, I actually didn't hear about it till after the fact. He was actually in town this weekend, and I caught up with him over the phone yesterday because I had just kind of heard through the grapevine that he was in town doing a little golfing and some other things, and just happened to swing by basketball coach's office, and that was the first time he had set foot in that facility since he was fired in the spring of 2019, I believe. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a cool full circle moment for him, and kind of had a lot of emotions where he saw a lot of familiar faces from personnel and staff members that worked in Nebraska while he was there, and being able to just kind of be back at a place where he spent 7 seasons and saw a lot of highs and lows along the way, and then just to kind of put a bow on kind of a defining point of his career. I thought it was a pretty cool deal. And then he got to pick Fred and Nate Lenzer's brains a little bit about some schematic things that he hopes to incorporate over at San Jose State.
Robin, I imagine if you are like me, and I hope that you're not in a variety of ways, but as Nebraska had their run in March, or really the whole season, and then in particular him being in town, that you kind of looked back on that era and maybe you asked yourself the question of why it ultimately was unable to work out, because while they did only make one tournament, as you pointed out in your story that went up yesterday, they had the season where they barely missed out on the tournament in 2018, even though they finished 4th in the league. And then next year was a pretty solid start before injuries derailed them. Like, did you kind of re-explore that topic with yourself in your mind of why was he unable to be the guy to do the thing that I think a lot of people expected him to, especially after his second year?
Yeah, I think what it came down to was just depth. They were really good about getting 2 or 3 really good pieces. And you look at his best teams, he had more often than not 3 guys that, they really hung their hat on. The issue was, especially kind of on some of those later teams, was they just couldn't afford any injuries or any time off from that top group because the depth kind of fell off a cliff for them a little bit. And I think in the Big Ten, it's just hard path to walk when you're relying that much on such a small group of players, because they're top line guys. I mean, they had first team all conference level players, Tramp Pettaway, James Palmer, Isaac Copeland, former 5-star, Glenn Watson, 4-year starter at point guard. And, Isaiah Roby went on to play, off and on in the NBA. So they had talent at the top of the roster, but they didn't have kind of the full arsenal enough to keep up in the Big Ten. So that's why you kind of saw these flash in the pan seasons surrounded by some really disappointing years, when the top end talent wasn't as good as maybe it was in those peak years.
Robin, there's been a lot going around so far regarding the volleyball reseating. We got an email, was it last week or is it 2 weeks ago, from Jim, who was going over his efforts to try to get basketball season tickets and the frustration he was feeling about, even getting into the 300 level was going to be really expensive. Have you started to hear from basketball folks who are getting information on how that process is going to go for PBA this next year?
Well, still so far removed, it's just hard to know.
Yeah.
I mean, the reseed doesn't happen for until the spring of 27. So, there's a lot that can happen. What if Nebraska has a dud season, and all of a sudden the interest isn't quite what it is right now? Is the demand going to be at an all-time high like it is right now? So I guess that's the one benefit to how they're handling basketball, is at least they're giving fans the advantage of time, to kind of let things play out and see how much they feel like investing in those tickets. And, maybe the demand will take or kind of answer that question itself one way or the other. But, I know that most of the response I've heard is the same sentiment, where, it's a more frustration that kind of another example of the common fan having to pay the biggest price in this, adaptation to the new era of college athletics, where, everything is all about the bottom dollar, and any source of revenue you can find, you got to exploit. And, again, more often than not, those being exploited the most are the most loyal supporters. So I certainly understand the frustration. I think it sucks that they have to do this, but that's the reality of it. They have to do this. Nebraska's not in a situation where they can just get a blank check from some billionaire donor like some other schools can, in order to try to keep up, not only nationally, but keep up within their own league. And so it's an unfortunate side effect of just where we are in college athletics. And again, I wholly understand, fans' gripes, especially those season ticket holders that, not too long ago sat through a 7-win regular season, and now all of a sudden, have to play some blind bidding game to keep their seats and continue to, go to games the way that they did in the past.
Robin, turning to football, you had a story earlier today at HuskerOnline.com about 5 players to watch when Nebraska opens its 2026 fall camp, and 2 of them were on defense. In particular, I wanted to ask you about Riley Van Poppel, because it got me, my gears turning, and reminded me of last year at this time. He was one of those dudes that people were super bullish on as Ty and Nash had moved on to be a guy to break through. And he was one of many, I think, on the defensive line that was going to be able to do so. Like, I guess where are you at with him in particular, and like a level of bullishness, given there is a scheme change and a defensive line coach change, which, in hindsight, it really did not seem like that guy was doing any favors to the dudes up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he kind of is the default guy for me when it comes to the conversation about Nebraska defensive line. Obviously, they brought in some reinforcements and have some new guys in that room that they're going to lean on. But like Riley Van Poppel is the one that they trot out there as kind of the face of that unit. And, they're really, I think, pushing him to be a vocal leader and take some command, not only of the defensive line, but as one of the leaders of the defense going into this season. And I think he's kind of embraced that role. So I just look at that when you're putting that type of responsibility on a player, the actions need to back up, the talk. And so I kind of just can use him as kind of the face of a defensive line that I feel once again is, arguably the biggest question mark on this team going into the season, just because that group has to be better. And they've committed a lot this offseason to making that unit better. They revamped the defense. They revamped the scheme. They brought in new coaches. They went and bolstered the unit out of the portal. But Riley Van Poppel is kind of the one staple. And now he's in the point of his career where, it's got to happen. And if he's able to flip that switch, I think there's a pretty significant ripple effect within the entire defense. Because as we've seen, when you've got kind of a pillar in the middle of your defensive line, everybody else benefits around that. So, there's other guys that are going to be in that conversation about improving the D-line. But, just I think by the nature of his role and, his experience, I'm putting Riley Van Poppel at the top of the list.
Talking with Robin Washington of HuskerOnline.com, Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline. When we asked a question about, what do you see as a position group that might have the biggest gap between its peak potential and its bottom, in other words, its floor and its ceiling, I said defensive line. At least that was the first position group that came to mind. I think it feels like there's the potential that this could be a good group, but then the floor, which we saw at times last year, was so low that I see a pretty big gap there. And I'm curious, how you see the defensive line from that standpoint. And if you think that's the group that might have the biggest potential top to bottom on this year's team.
I mean, they're certainly up there, and like to get more specific with it, I'll look at the edges.
Yeah.
Because I do think that the ceiling of that edge group is really, really high if players that that they're counting on can finally unlock their full potential. Obviously, Williams Nwaneri kind of is the billboard for that. A guy that has all the talent in the world, and you've seen some flashes of it here and there, but way too inconsistent and way too many times where he was just kind of a non-factor. And a player of that talent, and what Nebraska's committed to him with their resources, that's a guy that needs to be a star, not just a good player, but he needs to be a star. And you saw flashes with Cade Petschok. You brought in Anthony Jones. You got Cam Lenhart going to what feels like his 7th season here at Nebraska. So I mean, they've got guys that should be good, and if that group can elevate and come anywhere near to their ceiling, then Nebraska's defense is going to be in pretty decent shape. And suddenly they have a pass rush. It kind of baffles me that they haven't had a guy with over 8 sacks in the season since 2013. And if you can just get a player to be a game wrecker, a guy that you don't need to scheme up all these different, wild blitzes just to get a semblance of a pass rush that can just go beat a one-on-one block and get to the quarterback and finish the play, that changes so much for your entire defense. And, Williams Nwaneri, in theory, has that type of ability. Cade Petschok showed that, he can be, that type of player, and they're banking on Anthony Jones and Cameron Lenhart making that jump. So we'll see, especially with the move to a 4-man front, there should be some more opportunities for that group to have more of a disruptive impact. And if they can do that, then yeah, I agree. Their ceiling from, where their floor was a year ago, that's probably as big of a gap as there is in the room or in the roster.
Robin, I hope you got good plans this weekend, or maybe you're just staying
inside.
Yes. Yeah, I plan to do it. I think my family's going to drag me out to the pool. So, I'll take that sacrifice and stay by water as much as possible.
We'll wear a lot of sunscreen.
I know. SPF 1,000.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, trust me, I know about that.
We know you do.
Oh, I know about that. Way too often do I know about that. Robin, thanks. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Bye, Robin.
Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline. All right. Still to come.
Is it time for the big, what do you call it?
Supersized edition of 100 Days to College Football. Let me tell you what's in here.
Okay.
Let me tell you what's in here.
Okay.
And you can tell me whether or not this is supersized enough.
Okay.
We've got graphs and charts.
Of course.
Comparing expectations, Nebraska, to opponents' expectations.
Okay.
We've got hot seat ratings from CBS Sports.
Let's go.
We have an email, and I've got more graphs and charts
about
SEC bias.
Classic.
And a trivia question.
Wow, you are not kidding. This is like when you go to McDonald's and they have to give it to you in like 2 bags. You're getting a lot of stuff in there.
There you go.
All right, perfect.
So it's coming up next here on 1620 The Zone.
The sport of college football is run by idiots, morons, doofuses, money-hungry clowns who don't care about you, only that you keep pouring your love and money into their constantly changing for the worst product. But we love it. Oh, we do love it so. The other thing we like to do is count things down. So today and through the summer, 1620 The Zone and 97.7 The Zone are going to put these two great tastes together as we anxiously anticipate another year of college football. So now, Unsportsmanlike Conduct, home of random number selection and inciting dorks to online violence, presents another number pulled out of our collective behinds. The program celebrates 100 days to college football.
I told you it's a super-sized edition. But first, this very special message. Josh didn't want to read it. I'll take care of it.
Don't you say that. Don't you say that, you jerk.
I was going to talk about the great Arby's giveaway.
Don't you say that. I love talking about Arby's. Tell me more.
Well, we do. We're going to have some Arby's tomorrow, and Nick's got a fun new game.
Wait, we're having Arby's again tomorrow?
No. You're going to have
Arby's.
Arby's.
It's got to be your Arby's.
They're bringing back the Angus cheese steak. They got all the meats. And listen to Unsportsmanlike Conduct tomorrow. $25 gift card to Arby's can be yours.
That rocks.
Also,
is this my turn now? Get ready to
wow,
pay.
You are afraid.
You stop it. Stop saying this. You're making this very uncomfortable. Get ready to paint the town with love and pride at the Heartland Pride Parade, which is coming on Saturday, July the 18th. Nikki, who used to do a show from inside of this studio.
But we kicked them out.
Yeah, see you later, Nikki. 1620 The Zone, proud to be one of the radio sponsors. Nikki will be there emceeing the parade. Thousands will be there as well. The route's going to kick off 10 a.m. on Capitol Ave. It's going to wind its way through the heart of Omaha, and it will end at CHI Health Center, which is where the Heartland Pride festivities continue. More details, heartlandpride.com. Go there, or .org, excuse me, heartlandpride.org. Go there today.
And we appreciate Nikki doing that for us.
Absolutely. Shout out to Nikki.
Super-sized edition. Let's start. You know what? Let's start with the dessert.
Oh.
Trivia.
Okay.
I saw this on the interwebs this week.
Okay.
I love saying this now because I
Why'd
know
you
how much
start calling it interwebs?
Because I know
55.
Because I know how much it triggers you.
It's like you're a 30-year-old in 2012.
Well, John was. Well, no, he was 41 years old in
2012.
2012, yeah.
So every Power 4 program this century has made at least one AP preseason top 25, except two. And these are the current Power 4 programs.
Okay.
All but two have made at least one preseason AP top 25. Who are those two? I will give you one. I'll give you two hints.
Okay.
One has never been ranked ever in the preseason.
Okay.
The other was last preseason top 25 in 1962.
Whoa. So not only had these two teams never been ranked in the preseason in this century, but barely ever in the history of college football.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to guess that the one that has never been ranked in the preseason
ever.
I'm going to be bold here, John, and say that Vanderbilt was not ranked last year, even with Diego Pavia. Is Vanderbilt one of the two?
You are correct.
Yes. Okay. So they're the one who has never been ranked in the preseason.
The other one has not been in a preseason top 25 since 62, which was Devaney's first year.
So you're talking about a team that maybe once was good. Well, back then it was a top 10 in 1962.
I think it was a top 20, and then they went to top 10 in the mid-60s.
All right. So I'm going to talk this out for just a moment. I have some nominations. So one of the nominations would be Rutgers, but I bet that they were ranked in the Greg Schiano era, the first iteration of the Greg Schiano era, but they're one of my nominees. But I don't think they would have been ranked in 62. The other that I want to throw out is Syracuse, Though, I mean, they had Donovan McNabb. Like, they were a good program in that era.
And in the early 60s, they had Jim Brown, they had Ernie Davis.
That's what I'm saying.
They were a good program.
That's what I'm saying. So it's been since 62. Okay, so you're giving it away. That's not them. Then.
Yes, you know, Syracuse had some good teams even in like the mid 80s.
Since
even before Donovan McNabb, you know, with can't remember the coach's name.
Yeah, me neither.
I gotta think
in
back.
the preseason. I mean, Georgia Tech won a national championship. Boston College was pretty good. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna take a flyer. I'm gonna say that my Rutgers pick. It's not them. Kentucky. I'm
Incorrect.
Wrong. Bummer. Who was it?
Duke.
Oh, duh. That's a good one.
Duke.
And so what? They've never been ranked this century.
They have not been ranked
Kentucky
in the preseason top 25 this century. They have not been in a preseason top 25 since 1962. By the way,
was it Don McPherson? Is that what you're talking about? Because that's what
Dick McPherson. Dick McPherson. They went 11-0-1 in 1987.
Wow.
They had a couple of 10-win seasons under Paul Pasqualone. Remember Paul Pasqualone?
I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. Syracuse, you know, wasn't great, but they did have a couple of good years pre-Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, some of the guesses in the chat were Northwestern and Wake. So Wake was really good like 20 years ago now, which is insane that 2006 is 20 years ago. But they were pretty good in that time. They won the conference because the ACC was super down. Northwestern, I mean, they got a lot of love, you know, in the Pat Fitzgerald era. There were a couple seasons in particular where people were super high on Northwestern. So I knew that they were in there.
Graphs and charts. This first graph and or chart is a comparison, according to college football numbers, using data from Vegas Insider.
Awesome.
This is along the horizontal axis, the x-axis, if you remember your geometry. It's the average adjusted win total.
What does adjusted win total mean?
Well, it's based on, I mean, I don't know what adjusted means. It doesn't
amalgamation
really say,
maybe of all the win totals?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps.
And then what's the up and down? Arbitrary. Nice, Nick. Good job by you.
And then on the y-axis, the horizontal axis, it's the average FBS opponent win total. So it's looking at
how tough is your schedule.
How tough is your schedule? So for the benefit of those, you know, who aren't watching in on the YouTube stream, the further you are to the right.
Here's where John's going to make a politics joke.
No, I'm just saying the further you are to the right.
I beat you to it.
The further you are to the right, the more wins you have.
So like Texas Tech is the furthest to the right, and they're furthest to the right on this graph too, John.
And Notre Dame is furthest to the right.
The team we just talked about with Brian Fremeau.
So remember, right
equals
more wins.
Good. Oh, interesting. I'm trying to beat you to the punch.
I mean, stop me when I'm lying.
I would.
Further to the right.
Yeah.
More wins. Further to the left, obviously you're a loser.
The fewest wins.
The further you go to the left,
Charlotte.
The further you go to the left, the more of a loser you are.
Interesting.
And then up and down, the higher you go, that's the tougher the schedule. The lower you are is easier the schedule.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when you look at the lower right-hand quadrant, that's where Texas Tech and Notre Dame are.
So it makes sense that their win total would be high when their schedule is fairly easy, especially Tech.
Right.
If Tech played, you know, Nebraska's schedule, Tech would be a little bit further to the left. There's no way they'd be that far over to the right, as talented as they are.
Now, the teams in the upper right-hand quadrant are the teams that are good.
Big Ten and SEC teams at the top of their leagues.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Oregon,
Indiana,
Ohio State, Texas, you know, Georgia.
Exactly.
The teams that are expected to be really good, but also are playing loaded schedules.
If you're back and to the left, like UMass, not only do you have an easy schedule, you also suck. And that's where UMass is. They're way over there. And you mentioned Charlotte a moment ago. Charlotte's actually kind of mid-pack in terms of schedule, but they have the lowest amount of adjusted win totals. So you ask the question,
where's Nebraska?
Where is Nebraska?
Where
now,
is
usually, it used to be that Nebraska was far to the right. very far.
No,
to
they
the
still
right.
are. Don't worry.
But they're not anymore.
Yeah, no,
They're
except
not
for
anymore.
there's that other district sometimes that goes the other way. It goes
There's
left.
There's this giant blue blob that been trying to get
God,
rid
it's
of.
so
for the last
gorgeous.
10 years ago.
Beautiful blue blob.
Lot of weirdos there. But
It's
anyway,
crazy that you're saying this about Creighton fans. I cannot believe that you are calling them blue blobs and crazy.
You're also wearing blue right now.
Yeah,
while
you are
say
one
this.
of them. One of us.
Chicago
One of us.
Cubs.
Chicago, blue.
Nice. And
So
blue.
Nebraska is currently, as we said, their adjusted win total is in the neighborhood of 6 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Strength
you,
of
when you
schedule.
look at the strength of schedule, they are in the upper, I would say, 20% of teams in terms of their opponent's adjusted win total. In fact,
John, it looks like there are 7 teams definitively with a tougher schedule, and then a
Correct.
couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe that are on basically at the same plane.
Florida State, North Carolina, Arkansas, Stanford, Purdue, USC are clearly above Nebraska, but
Like Michigan State, TCU, Michigan, Texas, they're all at about the same mark.
exactly.
Oof. That's tough. That's tough.
And so that's kind of where Nebraska is. Their upper middle is where they would be if you're imagining this chart. They are upper middle.
And hey, if you're just joining us, I highly, highly recommend you go check out the interview we did with Brian from Mo earlier on in the show. BCFtoys.com. We've been quoting him a ton as of late. And we had a discussion with him about his win projection, which he has Nebraska at 5.5, and why that is the case. And he immediately talked about the schedule and said, yeah, I'm guessing their schedule is going to be tough. Let me pull it up. And you could kind of hear him rustling his papers or whatever. Oh, look, they have the 3 Big Ten teams that made the playoff last year on the schedule. So this makes all the sense in the world.
Also, Bowling Green.
And Bowling Green instead of Tennessee. I see Tennessee. They're near Arizona. They're a little down and to the right of Nebraska right now. Oh, wait, are you looking for Bowling Green?
I was actually looking for Bowling Green. They're probably underneath a hole.
They're in the
there
bottom
they are.
left next to UConn.
Very good, Nick. Look at that. Right next to UConn.
Oh, yep, there they are. Next to, is that Miami of Ohio?
Back and to the left.
Yep.
Back and to the left. They are easily
Tulsa.
the lowest of
Interesting.
Nebraska's opponents on this graphic. So
Yeah.
there you go. There's a little bit.
And who
of
is that from? Who is that graphic from?
CFPB numbers.
Nice. Shout out.
Does those.
Shout
Now
What's next?
to the hot seat.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
This isn't my list.
Matt.
No, Nick, you can't. The buyout's too large.
They could.
No, the buyout's too large.
CBS's sports staff rated every single coach in the FBS to
All
see
138?
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot of coaches.
And put them on a 0 to 5 rating. 0 meaning they're untouchable, 5 meaning win or be fired.
Exactly. Win or be?
Fire.
No, not fired. They're not lighting them on fire, Nick. There needs to be a D at the end of that word.
Fire.
Where is Matt Rule?
Fire. Matt.
Explain. You should explain before we get to his number. What the numbers mean, because like each number has a very specific connotation. One, untouchable, as
I
you said,
see.
and 5. But like each number has, a descriptor. So what are all the descriptors?
4 to 4.9 need to start improving.
Okay.
3 to 3.9 pressure is mounting. 2 to 2.9 all good. ... for now. 1 to 1.9 you're safe and secure. 0 to 0.9 untouchable.
Okay. Just to kind of let everybody know
So it's
what's
like-
going on.
It's like, no, it's the opposite of DEF CON, I guess. 1 is good.
Well, I thought DEFCON 1, DEFCON 1 is bad.
Yeah.
DEFCON 1 means war is happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are currently being nuked.
This is true. Yes, Nick. That's
In DEF
true.
CON, not right now.
I
not
don't like, for
reality.
the record, I have an opinion. It should be the other way around.
I agree.
DEFCON 5 should be the worst.
The big number feels scarier.
100%. I'm going to call the government and see if we can. President T, I
thought
know
you-
you're speaking tonight. Can we fix the DEFCON ratings?
I thought you libs didn't believe in the Department of War.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. Why would I believe in the Department of War?
So why would they remember when it wasn't the Department of War?
I do remember that. All right. Anyway, Matt Rule. What's his DEFCON?
By the way,
Fire.
of the
No, Nick.
138 coaches,
Yeah.
20 out of 138 rate a 3 or higher.
That's not that many, honestly.
That is not that many. Only 3 rate as a 5, 3 rate somewhere in the 4s, and 14 rate in the 3s. And I say that to tell you that Matt Rule, according to CBS Sports, is a 3.
Three.
Last year, by the way, he was a 2.1.
Oh, I was gonna.
What?
Mm.
He was a 2.1 last year. He is a
What
3.
happened to make him go to a 3? He should be a little lower, shouldn't he? Actually, because of that whole contract situation.
So again, to define, a 3 means pressure is mounting. And I think that is a fair
100%.
I think because you can't rate him as an all good for now because it doesn't feel all good, though we feel he is very secure.
Yeah.
But
But
yes,
pressure is
pressure
mounting.
is mounting.
Where would the number be if not for
The contract,
like 3.5?
it
wouldn't be 4 in my opinion, but it would be between 3 and 4. But how
it'd be
like 3.8,
it'd be
3.9, somewhere in
it'd
that
be
range?
the mid to upper 3s.
Yeah, I would agree.
That'd be my guess. Again, this is all of CBS's correspondents weighing in. If you're wondering, who are the 5s? Who are the 5s?
Good question.
And there's a lot of things to scroll here. The first 5 on the list, Mike Norvell at Florida State.
That guy seems like he could get fired in week 3. He could be like a Scott Frost after Georgia Southern situation.
This isn't a
can
5.
fast.
This isn't a 5, but it's a 4.9. Mike Loxley.
Oh man, could they fire him before Nebraska plays Maryland this year?
For Nebraska's sake, they better hope not, because Nebraska famously lost to a lot of interim coaches.
That's true.
Year.
That's true. By the way, Florida State, real fast. New Mexico State, they'll win that game in week 1, but then they have SMU tough at Alabama week 3. So, I mean, if they want to fire him early, they're going to have the chance maybe when they're 1-2. Florida State.
You look up one William F. Belichick?
I did not, but then I heard the morning show mention where he was at, and I was stunned at this number. I could not believe it.
4.1.
I don't believe that his number is that high, mainly because I don't think that the university wants to do it.
Right.
That said, what is his contract right now? I don't think he has very many years left. So, like, that end up might be working out in their favor that they could get rid of him.
Shane Beamer at South Carolina is at a 4.3.
Have you scrolled to Mr. Fickle?
I'm just scrolling down to look for the biggest numbers.
I believe
Lincoln Riley. Did you see this number?
I don't remember what it is.
3.8.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's probably fair. I think that this is definitely a pooper get off the pot type season for him. I think that they're going to be pretty good, so I think he's going to be fine. But if they're not fine, if they don't make the playoff, I would not be surprised if they decide to make a move. They're the number 1 recruiting class, or a talented team. They gotta get to the playoff.
Luke Fickle.
His is a very high number, isn't it? Isn't it like close to 5? Okay, I was gonna say. Yeah, he is one of those coaches. It honestly reminds me quite a bit rather of Nebraska following 2021, where if Trev Alberts was their athletic director, I think he would have said, "Look, all empirical data says this is not going in the direction that we want it to, but we're going to bring him back." I think that they brought him back, and they're going to, one more try. They put more money into the program, the roster. They spent all this money on it. Good luck, good luck. They did get 1 or 2 wins over ranked teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
For all Luke Fickell's issues, isn't it nuts that he has beaten more ranked teams at Wisconsin than Nebraska has under Matt Rule?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy because they've been bad.
Kalen DeBoer, a lot of people think he's on a hot seat. He's the same as Matt Rule. He's a 3.
You know why? Because the Alabama version of which is Byrne.
Greg Byrne.
They gave him a weird. Why did they give him a contract extension? They gave him a contract
because
extension
everyone was panicked that the Penn State job
but they gave it to him after Matt Campbell.
I
like
know.
they didn't. So what are you doing at that point in time? He's not leaving.
Deion Sanders 3.1.
Man, I think he's closer to 1. I don't think that they're going to fire him.
Nah, I almost think that's low.
Dude, I think after everything that's happened with him and his health scare, and that he's just like so important to the program and the university and getting people interested, like they don't want to fire him. I think that they're going to let him play out the string. Maybe if they had another couple of bad seasons, they would consider it, but I don't think that he is anywhere near being. He's been 3-9, I think, twice, or 4-8 in his first few years.
Yeah.
He has been bad. As frustrated as people are about Matt Rule around here, I'd rather have his tenure so far than Deion. I know that people were excited for 3 games a couple of years ago,
Sure.
but otherwise it's been pretty rough.
Well, there you go. There's your coach's hot seat ranking. So Matt Rule entering this year as a 3.
Michael Severe, who is of the military or has been of the military before, he says it talks about your readiness for war. So that's why the number 1 is in terms of being ready for war. I still think it should count up. That's my take.
Yeah, but you also think that we should have all-time daylight savings, and we all know that's wrong too.
Oh, interesting. You used to be pick a side and stick with it, and now you're standard time all year round.
Because I believe in the science.
You do? I don't recall this in 2020 when you were complaining all the time.
Why do
I have to wear this mask?
There's still people wearing masks. Are you crazy?
Oh, so you don't believe in the science? You know, diseases are spread, John. Are you
Yeah,
anti-science?
John, there's poop lettuce.
Yeah. I bet John's gonna be going home and garbling lettuce.
Which one of you two Fauci lovers has your COVID card on you?
Me.
Do you?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Why wouldn't I?
I'm gonna be honest. I lost mine. A while ago.
You jerk!
Tough luck.
Mine's long gone somewhere.
Science lover Josh. I'm not gonna show it on camera because it has my birthday and things like that. They don't.
We know when your birthday is. That way, everyone can plan their meals ahead of time too.
I don't. They don't write down the because I don't think you're supposed to get them anymore because we have idiots in charge these days who don't want people my age to get the COVID vaccine. But when I get it again this year, you know, all you gotta do is lie when you go to the grocery stores and say you're 80. And they're like, all right,
you're
cool.
lying?
Well, you have to, John, if you're my age and you want to get one. Good bit. You can't find yours, and mine came out of my hands in 2 seconds.
Well, that's because I've got it. I've always had it in the pouch.
That's right. I thought you had it like laminated.
No, it's
or
Fauci,
something.
John, not Pouchy.
So dumb. Was he a kangaroo? My kid lives in here.
Nice.
That sucks, man. If I lost my lanyard, this is my favorite lanyard.
Not the favorite lanyard.
It is the favorite lanyard.
Steve
I
says
got a lot of stuff in here. I need to get rid of it. Like, do I need the 2024
No, you do
Husker
not.
season credential?
You probably get rid of
I
that.
recently got a new backpack. And so I went through my old one, and I honestly was pretty excited because it was like, you know what?
Oh, look, it's my College World Series.
It's time to get rid of some stuff.
It's really fun to go through an old backpack and be like, my God, I had this in here.
And you know what you find is when you unzip some of the pouches, some of the pouchies, and you find a bunch of lint and, you know, like napkin residue. It was gross. So I'm happy to get rid of that.
Oh, wow. It's a single game Nebraska baseball credential. I don't need that.
What year? How long ago is that?
That's from the last, no. Oh, wow. 2025 Nebraska Creighton.
Which pouchy was that in, John?
It's in the same.
I just got a photo of someone's vaccination card. Send in your Vax card to 1620 to zone. Maybe Nick will give you a prize.
Vaxxed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this sucks, man. If I lost that thing, I'm in trouble.
Wow, you were trying to one-up me.
That's
Well,
true.
it's in there. I can promise you.
Okay, perfect.
But only one of us in here truly believes in the sun.
Again, you just complained about masks. It's healthy to wear them.
I never gave my
It's
take
not
yesterday. You
healthy
can't
to wear.
possibly know what I think.
You don't think it's healthy to wear them, so you're not believing the science?
How come you're not wearing one?
Look, I want to be healthy. I don't want to inconvenience myself that much.
So you
I'm
don't
being
wanna be
honest.
healthy.
I want to be healthy, just not that healthy. I'll get sick a couple times a year. It's fine. I'll deal with it.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We didn't even get to the last thing on there.
I know, because you said it was so big.
Well, I told you it was a mega-sized deal.
What,
Too
Nick?
busy digging through your pouches.
I was, but I was able to clean
Pouching.
some things out. I definitely don't need this.
Wow, John has a lanyard with a bunch of Husker ends on it. You walk around with that thing and you look like a homer.
Well, this is what they gave out.
What's
This
that
is
for? The
the,
100th?
The 100th anniversary of the stadium. This is what came with the 2024 season credential.
But the 2024 wasn't the 100th anniversary of the stadium. You must have moved that. Wasn't that like
I probably-
2023 or 2022?
Maybe I did move it then.
Nice. Season credential. You'll need one of those pretty soon.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. Except for the nights that you have to do Big Road reaction.
That don't have to worry about that.
Oh?
Yep.
Well, that's news to me. That's news to me.
1620 the zone.
Still the same vibe. Open bars on Monday. What's happening on social media? And the takes you didn't ask for, but we're going to give to you anyway.
Yeah, except now I've got to do more and try to keep Jimmy on the rails.
Good luck with that, Dan. Stop.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care.
It's Thursday! It's Thursday, which means we don't have to care.
Finally!
I don't care about the ESPYs.
Good take,
This
John.
thing
John.
is jumping, has jumped, will continue to jump the shark years ago. Man, if I were a baseball player and I was up for one of these, I'd be like, screw you guys. I ain't going to your stupid event.
Free food and free booze, though.
They make millions of dollars. I think they'll be fine. Instead, they get days off during the season, and this is the one time where
I would want days off. Days off. Days off.
Don't let Bill Belichick hear you.
Yeah,
By the way,
exactly.
is anyone who actually chooses the ESPYs?
Like who votes on it?
Yeah.
I don't care.
Why exactly?
I don't want to know.
It's you know
you
what?
can go. You Google.
I'm
it,
not
John.
going to
just
Google it.
Bill Simmons.
I'm not going to Google it.
He doesn't
You know
work
what?
there anymore, sadly.
Instead,
What
I'm
if it
going
still
to
is?
just imagine that it's the three people that do all of Wilbon's prep work for him.
Maybe it's Max Olson. Have we asked Max
we
Olson?
like Max Olson, Nick.
I
Don't
know.
you dare put this on his name.
I'm just asking
Don't
questions.
you dare put this on his name.
I was happy to not even realize that the ESPYs were on last night.
I didn't think about it at all. I got home and I watched Patton And I never thought, oh, I wonder what's happening in the ESPYs. I forgot about it until I woke up. First website I go to every day is ESPN.com. And I was like, oh, that's right. The ESPYs were last night because that was the main thing on the.
Of course it was.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm with you. I handshake meme on this. John, I'm ready to make a statement. And if any of my friends are listening, they're probably not going to like this one.
Uh-oh.
I don't
Josh
care.
is going to get ostracized.
I just don't care about golf anymore. I
Wow.
woke up this morning.
Golf is happening, Josh.
And I turned, so I was, look, daytime sports, morning sports, happy to have it on. But I turned it on and I was like, I used to really get into the Open Championship. I used to really get into the U.S. Open. I used to really get into the PGA Championship. The only thing I really care about now is the Masters. And that's mainly because I just want to watch it with my dad. But otherwise, I just don't care. I don't like a lot of the golfers. I find them very annoying and pretentious. I find a lot of the bros into golf very annoying and not pretentious, but just annoying, period.
Bros.
Yeah,
No, there's a lot of golf bros.
Golf bros, John, are really into the sport.
Watch Full Swing on Netflix. It's all bros.
I just, good luck to whomever wins. I don't care. I just don't care.
Nice. Fellas, I think I've reached a milestone in my baseball fandom. I don't care about the All-Star Game or the Home Run Derby.
Good take, Nick.
I really don't care. Everybody's talking about, the Home Run Derby, like it finally looked cool on Netflix. I don't care about that. Yeah, you can hit a ball far, but what's the point? You're getting it lobbed to you. The point is to hit a home run.
It's batting practice.
It's just batting practice. I don't care. And Netflix made it look cool. Fine, I guess. Awesome. Also, the All-Star Game, that's fine. I wish it mattered. It'd be cool if it mattered. If there was some kind of stakes
in
involved.
reality, it never. Well, the only time it mattered was when home field in the World Series was on the line. But
I mean, truly, then it did matter.
The only reason it mattered back in the day was, and this is where interleague play has ruined it, is you never, outside of the World Series, you only saw the two leagues cross paths during spring training and the All-Star Game. And that was it. And it made it special because you were like, oh, I always wondered what it would be like if, Steve Carlton was pitching against, Boo Powell or whatever.
Definitely.
That's true. Now we just get that all the time. We can just see it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to talk about like a generational divide. Like I will never understand that rarity. And so the All-Star Game never had that pull to me like it did to you, and All-Star Games now don't matter. By the way, one of my friends, Aaron, was listening and he says, I don't care about your take sitting in my car before I go golf. For the record, I'm not anti-golf. I'm anti-caring about
whoever wins the
events.
John Deere Classic.
I just don't watch it anymore, which if you would have told me 5-6 years ago, like during COVID, I watched a ton of golf because it was the only sport on for a while that had any stakes.
Wow.
And it was great.
You even got the shot.
Yeah, I proved it to you. You never proved it to the listeners. We don't even know if you have one technically.
It's right there in my bag. You saw it.
I did see it during the
commercial.
You saw
break.
it. But I
was
just
in the wrong bag.
And I don't play anymore because I'm bad and now I don't practice anymore. And so it's just like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I just don't want to spend, everything's more expensive. I don't want to spend $100 on a round and be miserable. But I'm pro golf. I just don't want to watch it anymore.
I don't care that there are these handful, and I mean a small handful of days in the middle of summer without major sports.
So wait,
people go crazy all the time. Oh, there's no, like on Monday.
Yes, okay, you don't care about the people complaining.
Yeah. Oh, there's no sports today. And Tuesday was the stupid All-Star Game. And like today, we only have one baseball game. Now,
get a hobby. Do something else.
Now, this year was a little different because there's been soccer in the afternoon the last 2 days. But for the most part, But you know what? It's kind of nice to have a break.
Couldn't agree more. You don't need a sport every day. Read a book.
Most of the people that complain about there's no sports are the same people like, oh, baseball. I hate baseball.
John, you are not wrong on this. Why would I compare or complain about no sports? I have many things I can do. We have all of these streaming services. We have all of these channels. We have all of the knowledge in the world at your fingertips. You could do anything you want. Maybe enjoy your night away from baseball. Maybe enjoy your night away from sports. I know I did. I watched a movie. I don't remember what I did. I did something, though, and I had a great time.
I got a doozy for you guys. Do you have another one, Josh?
No, I don't have anything else I care about.
On last Saturday.
I don't care about it. It's got to be your care.
So last Saturday, I did my first in-person chess tournament.
I don't care.
How'd that go?
I don't care that I lost to an 8-year-old. I played like garbage, and I deserved it.
Wait a minute. all this time. By the way, you don't get a chance to see this during the breaks, but I swear Nick is hunched over his phone like an old man trying to slurp up deli soup.
Look at what Nick is doing during our interviews these days.
Well, that's just puzzles. I'm not playing chess.
As much as you're playing chess and an 8-year-old comes in and cleans your clock.
Yeah.
That's wild, Nick. You play a lot.
I know. I'm not great at it.
Wow. That's like me with golf. I practiced all the time and I broke 103 times.
Jeez.
But
8-year-old?
So I played an 8-year-old, like a 40-year-old dude, and then a 6-year-old, and I kicked that 6-year-old's ass. So
yeah, but 2 years later, the kids were like, I got this guy owned and beaten.
Have you played Friend of the Grum that may or may not be joining us in 28 minutes lately?
Nah, about a month ago, I think. We play off and on.
Nice.
Well, there you go. There's I don't care.
I don't care. Dude, I could not agree with you more about the no sports thing. It's
okay.
fine.
It's okay to have
and you're also right about it. The people that complain about it the most, honestly, I used to be one of those guys. No sports. Like I'm watching baseball.
Honestly, I'm glad that I grew up. I grew up where I wasn't really full on the pulse of every sport all the time because I do have I like football, I like baseball, and I like Formula One, and then they have breaks. And if they're on a break, I don't care about finding another sport to fill the void, like basketball. I'll never watch it. There's so many other things.
Go touch some grass.
Did you lose at chess to an 8-year-old?
No, I know you don't care, John, but did you see this? Did you hear about this? The Savannah Bananas did something with the ESPYs last night.
Apparently, they did an opening dancing act.
Have we said we don't care about the Savannah Bananas? Have we said that on the show?
I hit that point. I think I said it a couple months ago. I finally hit the point.
I do care though. I hate them. I hate everything they stand for. I hate their guts. But the Tom Osborne photo wearing the jersey is awesome.
So this is going to be a very me thing that I'm about to say. I liked them before they went commercial.
Oh my gosh,
I really did, because it was like this dumb
they
little.
Always commercial?
Well, I mean,
he liked them before they got super popular.
I liked them before they cut a deal with ESPN.
They're like an indie band.
Like
he liked them when their albums.
The only way you could watch them was a YouTube stream where there wasn't that many people because people didn't realize that you could watch the games on YouTube. It was like a fun novelty, but now it's a thing.
Only in this country can something get more popular and instantly, I can't stand it.
Classic Nick.
Yeah.
It really is.
Nick.
He really is. Though the thing is popular now, I'm out.
There's things that I'm not a contrarian about that you claim I am, but I am about this.
Before we go to break, update on a story we had earlier this week. The old man who got bowled over by a bison.
Is he fine?
Yeah.
Oh, he's fine. He'll be okay. He did suffer some broken bones, but he's going to be okay.
They take out the bison?
Yellowstone officials.
The bison, Nick.
Yellowstone officials decided not to euthanize.
Oh, good.
The bull.
Let the bull live.
I'm glad we've learned our lesson from Harambe.
Oh, good call. We have.
They knew there would be blowback.
That's true. Nobody wants any songs about this bison.
Officials say they are taking no management action against the animal.
I feel bad. Stibbs had already started penning some songs. He was getting ready. I think him and Ian were going to do an original number.
Honestly, it's idiotic that anybody wanted to do anything against the animal. It's an animal.
Well, I mean,
it wasn't like I'm going to murder that guy because I like to murder and it's fun.
Now, the difference is, I mean, with Harambe, the kid was in immediate danger, right? Or at least could have been in immediate danger. So they had to do something to get the kid away. In this case, he went after the old man and then he ended up, going wherever. And I guess they must have captured him.
Yeah.
But the difference is you're in Yellowstone, you're in a national park where these animals are allowed to run free. You're there to watch them in their habitat, and you have to take on the responsibility not to get your ass kicked.
You can't say, I want to shake your hand. That's their lives.
Now, the defense of the old man, they didn't do anything wrong other than they probably should have been in a motorized vehicle.
I think animals can tell when you're trying to take their picture. I think they have, this is a theory. I don't know this. I think their eye cone, it's a Nick theory. I think their eye cones are different than humans where they can see maybe some kind of signal coming from like a phone camera. Because if you ever try to take a picture of like your dog or a bird and then they're not doing anything. And then the second the camera app opens, they're like, nope.
Banks loves getting photos taken of him.
Yeah.
I take photos of him all the time.
Trust me on this. My wife has been taking more photos of Woods than any photos she's ever taken of any subject ever.
That's awesome that you guys are still doing that after
That
all
is
these years
really,
of
that's a
marriage.
good way to spice things up, honestly.
No, I said the dog.
Oh,
the dog.
my bad.
Do you print them out in little Polaroids for her, too?
No, I do not.
Look, I took a photo of him the other day when he was sitting next to the door because he wanted his nightly treat.
I actually got a good one of Misty last night.
Shout out to you, Mr. Banks. Shout out to you.
By the way, speaking
Look
of
at
that, oh, you know what? I took the pictures off.
Is that a painting of your dog
No,
there,
that's
Nick?
a real-life poodle.
Oh, interesting. What's going on, John?
I'll have to share these tomorrow.
Okay.
How much this dog has grown in less than 4 months.
Oh, yeah?
Insane.
Dogs are crazy that way, man.
Dogs are crazy.
Insane.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll come back. Eric Hedholm's going to join us in the happy hour. We'll be back with more. We'll get to the other thing that we didn't get to in the supersized edition of the college football 100 days countdown.
Perfect.
And more when we return to you after this on 1620 The Zone.
The sport of
Wait a
college
second.
football
What are we
is
doing here?
run by idiots.
We already did this, Nick.
Morons.
We're doing it again.
Doofuses.
Just because we're doing the
Money-hungry
segment again
clowns
doesn't
who
mean we
don't
need to do
care
the
about
open
you,
again.
Only
Yeah.
that you keep pouring your love and money into their
I mean,
constantly
technically, this would mean
changing
every
for the
time we
worse
talk college
products.
football, this would be the intro to the segment.
Every time we play Matt Rule audio, we have to play the Rule.
Oh,
We do need a new rule open for the year.
Yeah? What was last year's open?
It's something John made. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Oh,
Nick
was
didn't
it?
like it, so I'm not making it anymore.
Was it? You talk too much. That was last year's, right?
I don't remember.
By the way, we were talking about our backpacks earlier, John. Don't forget that 1620 The Zone is teaming up with the Salvation Army in
They
their
are.
annual 7-can back-to-school backpack program. You and I have some pretty good backpacks, and those in need around here are also in need of backpacks. They're also in need, John, of rulers, notebooks, erasers, and so much more. You can get a lot of details at 1620thezone.com on how and where you can donate, but please do help out if you are able to in this area. 100 Days to College Football, Part
Got
2.
an email from Joe. Joe is upset about SEC bias.
Hell yeah. Good take, Joe.
Great take.
Is he saying John is a SEC homer?
No, he's saying ESPN is an SEC homer for having 12 teams in their initial 2026 poll. To correct.
This is the FPI?
Yes, this is the FPI. So this is their analytics rankings. This is not a poll. It is not an opinion. It is whatever their formula spat out.
Mm-hmm.
Their formula has an SEC bias.
Arbitrary.
Enter the time machine. This is Joe again writing to July 2025 and analyze the crap SEC at ESPN's initial rankings, AP initial rankings, influenced by ESPN, AP final ranking, how many SEC teams, initial CFP, final SEC. Bias sucks. Destroy ESPN, especially when there's no love for the Big Ten, ACC, and the Big 12. Another bias at ESPN is their betting market. Don't tell me SportsCenter doesn't influence betting odds. Both are conflicts of interest for the sports fan. So you know what I did?
You probably did a lot of research.
It wasn't really that hard at all. In fact, I quoted our friend Brian Fremeau's rankings as well. Comparing the analytics.
Okay.
These are the preseason rankings for BCF Toys, Brian, SP Plus, Bill Conley, and ESPN's FPI.
What do these numbers mean?
Top 25, number of top 25 rated teams, number of top 10 rated teams, number of top 5 rated teams.
And this is in the preseason?
This is the current preseason rankings.
Oh, I thought you were doing 25. I thought you were doing last year preseason and
No,
postseason.
this is this year. Just because his initial complaint was there's 12 SEC teams. And yes, if you look at the ESPN FPI, 12 of their top 25 are from the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to 11 in Bill Conley's and 10 in Brian Fremeau's.
Okay.
So really not a huge difference.
Though, I mean, when you look at it, 12 to 10 is not, but 12 versus 7 from the Big Ten versus 10 versus 9.
Sure.
That is quite the difference right there.
Really, I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of equal across the board. ESPN's FPI likes the ACC more than the Big 12, whereas BCF Toys likes the Big 12 more than the ACC. But if you compare the two, most of them have about the same collection of the top 25 teams. There's a couple in there that, don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
But these are these are the analytical ratings.
Mm-hmm.
These are the computer formulas. These are not opinions. What we'll see from the AP here in another week or two will be the opinions.
Mm-hmm. It's actually a month. I saw a tweet about it the other day. Yeah, it's mid-August is when it's coming out.
I mean, sure. I don't deny for a minute that there is a coverage bias or a hot take bias, depending on which network you're watching. If you're watching ESPN, you're going to get more SEC spin. If you're watching Fox, you're going to get more Big Ten spin. I don't deny that in the least. But that's in the chit-chat shows. Or
this is
talking points. These are the analytics.
But they can have a bias too. And I've explained this to you. I know you disagree, but they do.
They try to take those things out.
No, but see, now here's where we disagree. The bias is not what conference, the bias is recruiting rankings. And you would admit that a lot of the recruiting rankings also have an SEC bias. Why? Because a lot of the heavier trafficked recruiting websites are located in the South. And so,
but is that their fault?
No, but it's an over reliance on a recruiting ranking, and knowing like a lot of the time that gives a benefit of the doubt to those schools in that part of the country. I think that is very real, because where I thought this was going to go was,
I don't deny that you're wrong there, but again, how else if you were trying to create BCF toys, your own BCF toys, how would you weigh talent?
I don't know. It's a great question. I have no idea.
And so you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because if you want to spit out a formula that you have confidence in, you obviously have to judge how good the talent is. But you're not just going to plug in yards, and especially with incoming players or players that are transferring, it's very difficult if you don't use some semblance of recruiting rankings or star rankings baked into your
definitely
formula.
Not going to argue with you there. No, I'm absolutely not going to argue with you there. I do think that ends up being the case, because last year, because I saw a graphic, and I should have saved it, honestly, because it would have been maybe some interesting discussion for the show. But I saw a graphic a couple of weeks ago when the latest numbers came out, and it was FPI preseason and what ended up happening in the postseason. Or what ended up happening at the after the year, right? And it was like number of spots, teams moved up and down. And man, John, there were some SEC teams that took some huge dives preseason to postseason. Tennessee was on the list, Alabama was on the list, LSU was on the list, etc. So I do think it's obviously there. You ask a great question. How would you fix that? I don't know. I'm not the math guy. I'm not the formula guy.
You really can't.
But I do think that there has still been an over-reliance on recruiting rankings when it comes to a lot of this type of stuff. And, we saw it last year. Indiana does not have the recruiting rankings, and they won the national championship. So there has to be a middle ground. I just don't know what that is.
But they are the outlier, because historically, as Bartu has told us on a number of occasions, usually where you recruit does end up being that way. So yeah, it can be a bit of a vicious cycle, but I just, again, if you look at what they've done, what Brian's numbers have done with Nebraska, he's been on the button with these guys.
It's incredible.
On the button. And if you missed it earlier when we had Brian Fremeau on here, this is what his preseason win total was and what the actual number was. 2022, obviously things went south quickly, so it went way under. It was 6.8 in the preseason, only 4 wins in the regular season that year. But 2023, he was off by 0.3. 2024, off by 0.1. And last year, on the button. And this year, by the way, the preseason BCF Toys win total for Nebraska regular season is 5.5.
And remember, when we first got his numbers a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at his distribution of each record. And the most likely record for Nebraska, this is unsurprising, I think, given this number, but the most likely record in 2023 from him was 5-3. His most likely record in 2024 was 6-6. His most likely record last year was 7-5, and his most likely record this year is 5-7. It's incredible how on the nose he has been, at least with them. Now there are outliers, as he talked about earlier. Again, I cannot recommend the interview more, and I can't wait to talk to him again in season. There are going to be outliers. The 2022 team, for an example, they were the outlier in the way that you would not want them to be the outlier. But it's quite interesting when you look at the way in which his stuff is distributed and the records that he has for Nebraska.
So there you go. There's a little response to that. Still to come, we're going to have coming up right at the top of the hour. So that's why we're going a little bit longer here. But coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by our good friend Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports Now.
Hell yeah. He said, I wanted to join you at 5. And we said 5 o'clock. We usually do 4:50. He said 5.
Third tour of
duty.
He
had a thing he was working on.
Yep.
Third tour of duty. We'll talk some NFL.
I can't wait. I love talking to Eric, man. He breaks down the game in a really good way. He also has a fun sense of humor. And, he's a Chicago-ish guy. I think that's what his Twitter handle or his Twitter bio says. Chicago-ish or Chicago, somewhere near Chicago.
Chicagoland
I plan on asking him about the NFC North because he is, darn near in the belly of the beast in terms of a fan base that has very high expectations for a massive breakthrough. But I think all of the of the fan bases in the NFC North this upcoming season are going to have pretty high expectations because you have them and everything they did last year. The Packers, I mean, I think with the returning players that they have, Micah Parsons probably at the halfway point of the season, and then Tucker Kraft returning, I think early. I think they're expecting him to play right away, right? And then Jordan Love, of course, and maybe a make it or break it year for LaFleur. And then you have the Vikings and bringing in a new quarterback. It's crazy. They were above 500 last year, even though they had some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. And then you have the Lions, who have been awesome and took a bit of a step back last year. So I'm looking forward to asking about that and more. Dilo says, wait, did Bishop break up with K Ford? Our guy K Ford, he hasn't tweeted since like December.
No, I have not broken up with K Ford.
We would love to get remarried. He went out for milk and cigarettes, and we haven't heard from him.
He won't return my calls or my texts.
We're afraid that we might not be able to quote much K Ford this year.
He has like a real job.
He does. I mean, this isn't the only thing he does.
An important job that maybe they said, please don't talk to people anymore.
Or on
the radio.
Or it may be a job where it's
proprietary
enough so that he can't
proprietary.
Nice, Nick. Yeah. We miss K Ford.
I do miss K Ford.
What do you miss about him most, John? Do you miss his excellent information or his great graphics?
The great graphics are the best.
Yeah, it's easy to share. It's easy to show.
I miss that I could text him and he'd get back to me right away and he'd be like, yes, absolutely.
I tweeted this out earlier. This is another great addition from the For You tab.
I'm sure it's awesome.
But somebody took a pic. You know how you go to the little tourist trap stores and they have all the different mini personalized license plates with all the kids' names on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone looked at the license plates and they and the graphic shows a circle around the license plate that says James, and they say, "Who the hell is James?"
It's a normal name.
It is.
Yeah, they're like, who's naming their kid James?
To which the guy who tweeted this said, "I think we're focusing on the wrong one here. If you look 2 license plates down from the James license plate." It's a mock Washington plate with the name Adolf H.
Now, are we sure that this is a real tweet, John?
Probably not, but it made me laugh.
Right, okay, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. I just wanted to go laugh.
My response to this is the person knows that people name their kids James, and they were intentionally circling the one. They wanted people to see. Yes, it was a bit. Just engagement bait.
Yeah, don't name your kids Adolf anymore, folks.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
No, you know what is a good idea?
The Happy Hour and Eric at Home joining us next. So stick around. We'll be back right after this on 1620 The Zone. Welcome to the happy hour, everyone, on this Thursday. And we were so happy to see earlier this week that our good friend Eric Edholm, our longtime NFL guy that we have relied on going back to the bad old days with Severe and Kugler, is landed in a new spot, and it kind of looks familiar. Yahoo Sports. Eric joining us here on the Grum this afternoon. Eric, congratulations on the new gig. We're very excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, what's the old song lyric? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? You know, that's where I'm at. So it's my third tour of duty. I couldn't be more excited. I just wanted to set the record for most times coming back to Yahoo. I think Chris Mannix held the record before me, or at least we're tied. I'm not sure. So we'll have to go to the research on that one.
Hey, Eric, for people who've been reading your work over the years, they've obviously heard you on our show. What can they expect in the return to Yahoo this time around?
A lot more skin, a lot more risque writing. I can't promise that. Thankfully, I can't promise that. I think what you'll notice is that I really, for those who paid real close attention, when I shifted to do power rankings at the NFL, I kind of put my draft stuff to the side a little bit. And so I would be playing catch up the last 4 years. I mean, not that I didn't keep track of stuff during the season, but to really kind of grind on it, make the calls you need to make and watch the games and everything. And you really have to start in like now, so I'm catching up on some of these guys and trying to go full throttle on that as opposed to like December or January through May. So this is going to be more of my focus, although I'll also be doing, game coverage on Sundays and some Bears stuff when needed, maybe some Packers stuff close by. So I'm just excited. They're good people to work with. I know there's new leadership, but I've been excited to meet them and happy to sort of expand my draft stuff a little bit more.
Awesome.
Well, as we get into some of the nuts and bolts of this late off season, because we're only a couple weeks away from the opening of a lot of these training camps, I'm curious because we talked about this briefly earlier this week, but how much has the Mike McDonald comments that he made to Dan Patrick about, people helping him with the Super Bowl and Patriots fans thinking that Tom Brady somehow is the second gunman behind the grassy knoll? How much has that interested you?
I was thinking it was Bill Belichick. I didn't know, I was sort of thinking it could be any, there's a lot of potential candidates it could be. But yeah, coaches are snakes, man. They'll use whatever they can to win a game. I don't blame them. Use whatever's at your disposal. I thought Tom, may have opened himself up to the possibility of being named here when he was like, "Oh, I don't have a dog in this fight." I understand. On the one hand, I'm saying, look, you're a broadcaster. You do have to be impartial. Not, like Troy Aikman can rip the Cowboys and things like that. I'm all for like neutrality, but Patriots fans may view it a little differently, right? They're a little bit of a different bunch. I grew up in that area, so I can say I know them pretty well. But I think it obviously, I wouldn't say it made him a villain. I think people still love Brady there, but they're just a little more, as my kids would say, sus of him, right? they're a little more suspicious of his involvement in the Raiders and in the broadcasting and in non-Patriots love, so to speak. So. Yeah, very interesting little side story there.
Eric, we've all been in the content game for a while, and so we know that June and July often mean lists and putting things together and rankings and all sorts of stuff. Everyone's doing the quarterback conversation right now. I don't really so much want to be like, hey, what did you think of this list? But more, does the top of the league feel maybe more in flux at the quarterback position than it has been in recent years? Because there's been this consensus of Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and Burrow in some order. And right now, I look from list to list, and you got Mahomes dropping, you got Allen at number 1, you got Drake May popping into the list, Matt Stafford was the MVP. It really seems more than any time in the last, 7-8 years, that it doesn't seem like the consensus is there at this moment in time.
Right. And you have Matthew Stafford kind of on the edge of retirement, but still playing great football. Where do you rank him? You have Sam Darnold winning his first Super Bowl and playing great. He had a couple of rough games against the Rams in the, leading up to the Super Bowl, but still, how do you complain with anything he's done really the last 2 years? So, there's some new entrants. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a very tough guy to grade. You go from Super Bowl MVP to someone that people are pointing the fingers at. So, obviously I see some varied opinions on Josh Allen too. What has he ever done? he's done a few things, right? Let's not be silly here, but I love the fact that there are different opinions about these quarterbacks. Some people will place an outsized amount of import on the wins, like, do you win big games? Some people say, look, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, but how do you not include him in the top 10 quarterbacks of all time? And I think there's a space for both arguments there. So I love the fact that people view these things differently. It's no different than the draft. Like when I look at this, a crop of guys, everyone's going to have a different view on them, and that's what makes this so fun. So yeah, what do you put your stock into? What is most important for you? Do the players you have around you matter? Of course they do. Does the coach and the system you run have an impact on what you do? Do injuries factor in? I mean, all these things change year to year too. So there's always going to be a little bit of a different opinion, but I will say, I think some of these manufactured storylines are just that, like it's late June, early July. We're looking for stuff to talk about, killing time. I'm not saying you guys, never, but I'm saying others in the media sphere will say, like, this Lamar guy, he's, come on, let's give him some due while also pointing out that he's fallen short of some expectations. But yeah, I actually like it. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, me too.
Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports joining us. Kind of in that same vein, I saw John Gruden on a recent podcast said the game is dissolving, not evolving. We had some numbers we were quoting, a few days ago, where it looks like, the swing is now starting to head back towards the defensive side after we've seen a lot of years where the offense really was in control. Kind of where do you see the evolution of the game right now and the constant spinning back and forth between defense, offense as we enter 2026?
Yeah, and passing game, run game, big personnel, small personnel, the league is always shifting like that. And, positions that didn't exist 10 years ago, 15 years ago are now thriving, like the big nickel position on defense. All it takes is maybe one or two players like a Nick Eamon-Wari coming out and say, oh, I got to get me one of those, right? It's a copycat league. We've seen it for decades, right? Whatever is working, people are going to try to copy that, incorporate that, or mesh it with their system and find that middle ground or whatever. So, I remember in the 2011 season, that was that crazy year where, Eli Manning threw for 5,000 yards and he was something like fifth in the league in passing. It was just one of those years where nobody could stop the pass game. The RPO stuff was really coming into the league then. Teams were just battering you. There was more fourth down risks and all that. And I said at the time, there will be a time when the run game cycles back, that we'll talk about the modern NFL some time period from then as being a more of a heavy power thing. So if you come out and nickel and dime every single play, I'm going to bring extra tight ends and maybe an extra blocker out there, an extra offensive lineman to counter that. And guess what? It's still a big man's game, so that's going to have some success if you kind of stick to it. So, yeah, the league's always evolving. The type of defense we played. Remember, Tampa 2 was like the gold standard defense, and then the Patriots brought in the 3-4 front, and only one team was running it prior to New England coming in with it in the early 2000s. So I think what it takes is an innovative coach or a coach who's willing to kind of go against the grain because they see a market inequality. They see some sort of thing that they can exploit. And that's really what it boils down to. Maybe you just come in and say, my system's better than yours. Mike Martz did that years ago. And guess what? It was for a few years. And then people found ways to beat it up. I don't know if I fully agree with John Gruden, but I understand some of what he was saying. I saw part of what that clip was. But to me, the fact that the game can change so much over a relatively short period of time is also part of what makes football so exciting. Is that the nuts and bolts are the same, but the way you arrange them and how you present them are going to be totally different from high school to college to NFL, and then NFL one generation to the next.
Eric, you're in the Chicago area, the NFC North. 2 years ago was one of the great divisions in regular season history.
Yeah.
And it kind of flames out in the postseason. Last year, the Bears
are able to win it, and they get a crazy comeback win over the Packers. Their last 2 wins, honestly, over the Packers were crazy comeback wins. What do you have any read on this division now? Because it seems like there's a lot of things in flux where the Lions roster has taken a bit of a step back. I know that I've read some stuff this offseason, maybe some confusion at what the Packers have been able to do or have tried to do. They've had some talent exodus as well. You have the Bears coming off of that exciting season, and then of course the Vikings bringing in Kyler Murray. I mean, it just seems like this division's super wide open a month and a half from the start of the year.
It is, yeah. And I think, it's funny how the assumption now is that the Bears are kind of the leaders of the pack. Now, obviously, after, winning 2 more games than everybody in the division, beating the Packers at home, nearly knocking off the Rams, having one of the most exciting seasons around these parts in a long time, that's going to obviously put you kind of in the crosshairs. And they've got a tough schedule that's going to be tricky to navigate. They actually had the second worst point differential of any team in the NFC North last year. That's another thing you have to remind yourself of. They relied heavily on turnovers on defense. There's going to be some stuff that I don't think they can necessarily fall back on that they did last year. Expecting Caleb Williams to go Argentina on you every single game. It's tough, right? I mean, he's brilliant. He's an MVP candidate now because of his playmaking ability. But at the same time, I think they have to up the expectations on defense and then also be more efficient on offense. And, they allowed 400 plus points last year. That's the other thing that we have to factor in is that, they won a lot of 28 to 24 games and that'll catch up to you at some point. So, I think the Packers, you're right. It's fair to kind of wonder whether they've never been a huge off-season team. I know the Parsons trade has to be kind of baked into this year, given that he only played, part of the season or whatever. But I think they're expecting him and Tucker Kraft to come back and help this team. With them, I think they were a dark horse Super Bowl team. Without them, they clearly weren't. So again, there's a little bit of a finger crossing, breath holding thing with those 2 players. But when they're back, I think Jordan Love's a little better than some people give him credit for being. We'll see. Minnesota, hard to read. The quarterback thing is obviously the first kind of thing you have to go off of. And I think Murray will kind of raise the floor, but there's at least some hope that McCarthy can come on at some point. I think their defense is going to have to carry him. I think that's going to have to be the route that they take to win games, and that hope Justin Jefferson gets more involved. But Detroit, to me, is sort of lying in the weeds, even with, the Terrion Arnold situation, some other losses, offensive line. David Montgomery was a big part of what they did running the football, but don't forget about him. This was the Bears 3 years ago, right? The team that everybody was jacked up. They wanted to watch. It was an exciting offense. And it's no secret that obviously Ben Johnson is behind both teams. And I think the Lions figured out ways to do well without him, even in a disappointing season. So, it's still a team that was pushing 500 points scored last year, and still a team that I think there's enough young talent on defense that I think they can make some strides. So maybe they are the ones that can upset the party this year again.
Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. I don't want to take the conversation to a morbid direction, but the story of Chris Johnson a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago, if that story happens at this time of year, I think the conversation is very different around not only the league, but just around the sports sphere in general. And yet, and I know they're doing the Ice Bucket Challenge again, and I love to see the support from, some of his former teammates and a lot of other NFL legends.
Yeah.
But man, it feels like this story is being treated very differently today than it would have been if this would have happened 10 years ago in terms of the NFL and player safety. I'm just curious, as someone who has their finger on the pulse of what's being discussed around the league, how much this story is resonating around the league outside of just beyond the fact of, hey, we got one of our brothers here who's going through a terrible, terrible situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think the shock was the biggest first reaction inside NFL circles. I was talking actually to a former player a couple days after that. We were just kind of catching up, and I think he had spent 1 or 2 seasons with Chris in Arizona, and it was like, just shock. They weren't like super close or anything, but again, just somebody who witnessed him on a daily basis. And he was like, bro, I saw him at the end of his career. And this was one of the most tremendous athletes you could imagine. And to have something cripple him to that level in that short of time. I mean, he was playing less than 10 years ago. It was 2017 or 18, I want to say, was his last year. So, the shock factor alone of this human blur now being reduced to what he is physically. But the fact that he's come forward, been so transparent with it, I think there is a happy medium between kind of the I'm gonna be careful how I say it. I don't mean it to be any kind of statement on society or anything, but there's somewhere in the middle where you can be shocked and outraged at this and talk about the health of players, but also be sympathetic and find ways to, first of all, players are choosing to play this sport, and the amount of measures and improvements to safety that we've made in this sport, whether you think the NFL buried their head in the sands for years or not, has been pretty immense. There are always going to be, this is a tough physical sport that grinds people down mentally and physically. Heck, I can remember talking to Barry Sanders and being shocked how little pain he said he was in. Now, maybe he was lying to me, but I remember having an interview with him and thinking, how are you not suffering? How are you not, your joints not killing your head? Are you having headaches? All these things. And, there's a luck factor involved that is unfortunately part of the game that we can probably never get rid of. So I know this is a long-winded and probably in some ways nonsensical thing, but I'm trying to get to the point of, I think a lot of these guys, when they're 24, 25 and they suffer their first concussion or something, and they say, well, I can power through this. And thankfully, I believe there are more players who are doing a better job of also self-policing. If you don't let the team know what's going on, you can't have, the proper care. So, yeah, it's just sad to see, and I hope the best for Chris, because he seems like such a neat guy. And to think he's 40 years old and going through something that people twice his age aren't necessarily going through. So just tough to see.
Eric, I think John said it one time on the show, maybe a decade ago, honestly, when we were really in the throes of those conversations. And it was like, people who participate in NASCAR, there is a risk and they all have to embrace it and they all have to understand it. And I always wondered, with football, how many changes can you make before you kind of hit the maximum change, before you really start removing the things that make football. And I think that we've gotten pretty close there. I don't know what other measures can be put into place, but I think that they have done as good of a job of education and equipment changes to I think we all get the risks now, at least much better than we did 30, 40 years ago, right, in terms of football.
No doubt. And to the point where you have people complaining the other direction, like quarterbacks can't get hit these days, right? Yeah. And I'm just using that as an example to point out. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong on that. I find myself drifting in both directions where it's like, man, I want to be able to say that there are ways to improve it, but without reducing the sport or sullying the sport, taking away its key elements. I pushed back against some of the kickoff stuff in recent years. I think what they found is acceptable, and that was a play that, at first I kind of doubted it. I thought, is the injury data that much worse on kickoffs than on other plays? It turns out it was. It was almost double the rate, I think, at one point. But since the new rules have come in, they've improved that. Helmet safety is the big thing. You see some of those Guardians caps. You see players with much better equipment. In fact, a funny story was a different former player I was talking to years ago was like, when I look at my old helmet, which is sitting on my desk at home, and I look at a modern NFL helmet, because he's a guy who does some sideline work, he's like, it's crazy that we wore those things back then, and we thought that they protected us. I mean, they did, but not maybe nominally in some cases. So I'm with you. I think, and I appreciate the rules committee always looking for ways to improve the game, and especially with safety in mind. But unfortunately, there is a point at which it dilutes the game too much, or it becomes something totally different. And, there are conspiracy theorists who say, you see the way the NFL is embracing flag football. I can say this now as a former NFL employee. It scares them because it makes them think that in 20 years, that's what we're going to have. I don't think we're going to be there, but you never know.
Sure.
Eric Edholm now with Yahoo Sports, again with Yahoo Sports. Make sure you check out his great work, and we are very excited for him and glad that you're still with us in the NFL sphere, because I don't know where we would go for our NFL takes.
and you're glad I kept my shirt on somehow, right?
And that too. No nudity. No
the
nudity.
restraints. In
But
4
if
years
there is-
working for the league, you learn a little bit of restraint. That's the thing I'll say.
But if there
So-
is, it'll be tastefully done.
Tasteful nudity. Absolutely.
That's right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And it's always great coming on with you for sure.
You bet. Eric Edholm, great friend of the Grum, joining us here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Thanks again, Eric. That's Eric Edholm joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. And, we didn't really talk. I mean, we mentioned it. I think it was a passing comment we made in content when the Chris Johnson stuff came out. I think we learned a lot over that time. I still believe that the timing of the conversation and then COVID happening kind of shut the spigot off a little bit on some of the heightened conversation about safety. But at the same time, I also believe that the NFL and football in general did take a lot of proactive, positive steps. And as long as we don't revert back to the denial of,
Correct.
Of just not acknowledging the danger, because I still believe, and I said it then and I'll say it today, there are just some sports where the danger is inherent and it is part of the fabric of the sport. And without it, the sport loses its essence. It's auto racing, it's boxing, it's
rugby,
football. It's football.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we can't continue to make strides to making things a little bit safer and doing things in a better way. But I think more importantly, it's about not shying away from the conversation, acknowledging the danger, with also an acknowledgement that we can always do a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the sport is the sport. This is a gladiator sport. This is a dangerous sport. And you have a choice not to play it.
100%. I have that book at home titled League of Denial, and you just used that word denial a couple of minutes ago. And that, what do we always say, John? It's not the crime, it's the cover-up. With the NFL and with football in particular, the cover-up of it was the really heinous part. Eric said that, what a great story at the end, kind of a sad story as well, about helmet technology. But it's not just that, but it's the get back out onto the field. We're going to talk about Patton in the movie club tomorrow and his views on soldiers and what they were going through mentally. Of course, we view that now and we would say that's being barbaric. You can't view it that way. Times have changed. And the NFL, I think that they have adapted as well as you can. Lately, I guess, certainly in the last 10 to 15 years, to the point that Eric made, sometimes to the frustration of many. I don't know what more is out there, to do. I'm sure technology will always get better, right? Helmet technology, I think, can always improve. Maybe there is a world at some point in time, John, where we're watching football and literally everybody is out there wearing a Guardian cap. Maybe something like that is eventually going to be the case. I think that in terms of rules, though, they've done a really good job. Sometimes to the point of frustration on us when we watch a quarterback get protected or a wide receiver going over the middle and you don't hit them and they're allowed to squirt free because that's what the rules are. It is you pointed out, though, every time we have one of these discussions, how different the conversation was a decade ago versus how different the conversation is today. It is certainly a night and day thing.
All right, still to come here on the program, we have What's for Dinner, but next it is some content. Today in content, we have ACC Media Days.
Ooh!
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
Taunting. And did he fart?
Oh, is this a Jim Nance Jim Nance, Phil Simms situation all over again 10 years later?
Sure. Yeah.
Or was
Why
it
not?
one of us? Well, hopefully it wasn't one of us.
We'll have that all and more as we continue next on 1620 The Zone.
Look, I made you some
Unsportsmanlike
content.
Unsportsmanlike content.
Unsportsmanlike content. Content that's unsportsmanlike.
All right, here we go.
Boys, it sounds like England was going through their own version of Big Red overreaction last night. As Matt McCarthy pointed out on Twitter, English sports talk radio has been an incredible listen tonight. Angry hosts, despondent callers, drunk guys forcing their wives to take the phone because she knows more than the manager, Irish and Scottish people calling in and trolling the entire audience. Did we make a mistake not rolling on any audio?
No, but we did make a mistake not hiring whoever hosted this show to do Big Red Overreaction this year, because basically it sounds like an average game in the month of November. I mean, they pretty much hit the grand slam of everything that we get on our shows in the month of November. So I guess we need to hire Jeeves and Charlie and just bring them over across the pond and just let them host Big Red Overreaction, because it sounds like they're perfect for it.
One of my favorite things, John, from last night was Happer saying, guy from the Miami Chamber of Commerce calls in and welcomes England to Miami for the third place game, which was a nice reminder of last season when the guy from Charlotte kept calling the show, talking about the Duke's Mayo Bowl. There is English John Bishop, so I mean, at the very least, we could try to get him involved with the show this fall. But yes, I definitely think we made a mistake. I would love to hear back some of these angry calls. It sounds glorious.
The Athletic put out a story today on what kind of school each program is. For example, Ohio State, football school. Minnesota, ice hockey, obviously. What do you think of their pick for Nebraska? Volleyball. As Joe Rexroad wrote, maybe if Nebraska stops considering itself a football school, its rotten football luck will end. Do you have any thoughts?
I do. We always have these discussions about, what is this a blank school? Have they changed into a different school? I don't feel like success is the ultimate driver of what type of school somebody is. It is the thing that the state or the fan base, the university, the thing that they care about the most. And so as successful as volleyball is, I still think Nebraska is a football school, and it would take so much, John, for me to even consider something other than that. So volleyball is easily the most successful program, and it has been for a couple of decades now, probably. I would love to know the graph on when volleyball became more successful in the aggregate than football. But no, in my opinion, it is still a football school, and it will be a football school for the foreseeable future.
I know that they sold out Memorial Stadium a couple of years ago, but if you can do that on a regular basis, and if more people end up watching or are interested in reading about the matches than they are the games, that's when it will have shifted. Now, it might feel like it's a lot closer than it's ever been, and it probably is. But yes, it's still a football state. It's still a football school. But if I were football and I were worried about my place in the world, I would get my crap together, because it doesn't look like volleyball's train is stopping anytime soon. So maybe it's time for football to finally hold up its fair end of the bargain.
Speaking at ACC Media Days this week, Florida State headman Mike Norvell said, I don't fear failure. Okay, but does he fear being fired?
I don't think he should fear being fired. Let's see. Mike Norvell buyout. Wow, that's the first thing that shows up in the old Google search. They would owe him $51. Wow, that's some Matt Rule money there. $51 million. He also has a contract that runs through 2031. So should he be afraid of being fired? No, because he'll be very, very rich if he does get fired. Just make sure. The only thing you should be worried about is getting fired with cause. Then he might lose the buyout. But as long as, he keeps his nose clean and they just lose, don't be worried. Just go out and coach.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, John. So, the real lesson is just suck for suck's sake, but do not do anything illegal. Don't do anything controversial. Don't have any relationships that you shouldn't inside of your office. Just be a normal football coach who stinks and gets fired. By the way, if he does get fired in season, I saw this being bantied about earlier this week with Florida State fans. Is Tony White the guy? Is he the new coach for Florida State for the rest of the season? He probably would be. A nice little tryout for one of our favorite assistants over the last decade.
When asked about the so-called self-governance model that many believe is the future of major college sports, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said, "Self-governance, to me, means no governance." Is he right?
I would agree with them. I think you need to have somebody that is in charge of the sport that everybody can ultimately look at. You know, it's like a basketball game, John, where you call your own fouls. Like, I think that can work from time to time. I would never want that to work, though, at the highest levels of basketball. I think that would be absolutely ridiculous. And so you need somebody in charge, even if, to go to the ref analogy a little bit more, even if they are going to make mistakes, even if they are not going to be perfect, even if you probably will or want to yell at them from time to time, you still need somebody in there that can kind of handle things. So, no, I could not disagree with Mr. Jim Phillips, friend of John Bishop, by the way. He talked to him last month at the College World Series. I could not disagree with him more.
Yeah, he is exactly right, because self-governance, I mean, all it is just it's going from whatever you have with the NCAA to the conferences. Well, we know that the conferences are only out for their own best self-interest. I mean, imagine if the NFC West governed itself while the NFC East governed itself. How would we? I mean, eventually at some point, if you're going to play each other and you're going to compete against each other, you all have to agree on a set number of rules and regulations. So this idea that we're going to fix all of these problems just because the Big Ten can go, do their own self-governments, but still at the end of the day, play conferences that do things an entirely different way. It's, again, another example of how college sports continues to meet the fork in the road. And instead of taking the path right or wrong, they grab the fork, they stab themselves in the face with it, and then they just carry on about their merry day. Self-governance is not the answer. It's about finding some kind of governance that actually has enforcement, that everyone can play by the same rules.
From the "what? I can't believe it" department, the day before Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton threatened that the state would sue the Big 12 if they sanctioned Texas Tech for playing Brendan Sorsby, a $274,000 check arrived to Paxton's U.S. Senate campaign office. The money was from, now imagine dramatic music, Texas Tech Regents Chair and Mega Booster Cody Campbell.
Stunned. I'm shocked. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. Why would this happen at the same time? Gee, I wonder if there was anything going on here. Oh, by the way, it's also funny that this was the threat from the Texas State Attorney General that actually got the Big 12 to act, and that's how we solved the entire Brendan Sorsby problem. So we actually should be thanking Ken Paxton for being just another arrogant D-bag in government who thinks that they can just sue and do whatever they want, realizing that you don't really have a case here.
And this is going to be one of our future 100 senators that we have in the United States of America, as he will win the election later on this fall. Not surprised by any of this. It's so funny, too. Like, Cody Campbell was held up a couple of years ago as like, this guy is going to save the sport, and essentially offered a nice little bribe here to Mr. Paxton to try to get his quarterback to play football. A lot of scumbags.
Shockingly, the New York Knicks, who took advantage of an early upset of the Celtics and then OKC and San Antonio wearing each other out before backing into an NBA title, swept the ESPY Awards last night. John doesn't care. Josh, do you care?
No, not about the ESPYs, but the question and the way in which that was written in Asnick was quite interesting. You know, all throughout the NBA
sounded
playoffs,
very truthful to me.
I was over here trying to tell everybody that would listen, the Knicks are going to have a chance. The Knicks are going to have a chance. By the time the finals arrived, I thought that they were going to win the NBA Finals. But somebody on this show, in this studio, in our great studio here, our brand new studio, kept saying I was an idiot, and now excuses are made. No, well, their schedule, it was a little easier.
It was you dipwad. The Celtics got knocked out. They were the hottest team in the East.
No, they weren't. They sucked. They
They were the hottest. Oh, come on. You weren't even Mr. Basketball knower. They were the hottest team going into the playoffs, and then they got shockingly knocked out. And then obviously OKC and San Antonio, it was a blood feud. They just came out of the octagon, beat each other to a pulp. San Antonio had nothing left. The Knicks totally backed into this title. And oh my God, shock, surprise. All of the people at ESPN, basically centered in New York, gave all of their ESPYs to the Knicks. Gee, I wonder how that happened. It's
you wish they would have given them to Seattle, John? You wish the Seahawks got all those awards?
Sure, why not? At least Seattle had to beat good teams.
Definitely
the Knicks,
the
they just beat a bunch of scrubs. Wemby. Who's this Wemby guy?
Oh,
Seemed pretty
interesting.
soft to me.
Argentine golfer Matteo Pulsini taunted the crowd earlier this morning at the British Open, mimicking the goal celebration of the Argentina soccer team. Imagine the horror as trolling has now disgraced the gentleman's game.
This is pretty awesome. Good job by him, man. Where is the Open this year? I don't even know. Is it in England?
Well, it's the British Open, so it's somewhere over there.
Well, sometimes, John, it's in Scotland, and Scotland people, as we talked about a little bit earlier, were calling in and making fun of people on the show. Let's see. It is in the UK, Royal Birkdale Golf Club. It is in England. Excellent troll job by this guy.
I'm
Excellent
ashamed.
troll
I am
job.
ashamed for the sport of golf, a gentleman's game, a game where there's decorum, there's proper etiquette, and this is the kind of stuff that we're allowing. I'm stunned. I hope that one of the I hope Tirico did a proper bashing, kind of like
Joe Buck
on
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss. I hope there was a proper tongue lashing of this horrific behavior in this beautiful sport.
Stick to sports. Stick to sports. Stick to sports. Stick to sports. Stick to
Did New York Senator Chuck Schumer let one rip as he was ripping into President T? You be the judge.
Now on Iran and the NDAA. The American people need to know, of course, how and why this chaos is spreading through their streets, and we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration can...
It definitely sounds like it, mainly because of his face. After so is that two separate farts?
No. That was the New York Post where the video came from.
Okay.
They played the front half and
now
then they
on
went
Iran
back.
and the NDAA.
Notice how the body moves upward. There's no question. Chuck Schumer farted. Also, that sound that had the very distinct sound, and trust me, I know, of an old man fart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that sounded like an old man fart right there.
I thought
There's
old
a
man
certain
farts were a little
pitch.
juicier.
There's a certain pitch. There's a certain presence when an old man farts versus like a young man fart.
A young spry boy like Nick Grimm.
I've got spry farts, many say.
Uh-huh. Nice. That was a good one, man. That wasn't like one of those weak ass I always say Tony Romo, Phil Simms farts. That one was way worse this one was way worse than that one back.
By the way, the U.S. Oil and Gas Association put a quote tweet out of this and use this as an example to explain what venting and flaring are. And it was quite hilarious. I'll read real brief. Venting comes or quietly releases natural gas, while flaring sets that gas on fire because sometimes the buildup is so large and dangerous, the only way to handle excess methane is to quickly give it the old Viking funeral. And then they basically use this as an example that Chuck Schumer vented. That's some good stuff.
That's crazy.
Nicely done, Senator Schumer. All right, there you go. We'll be back. We'll finish up with what's for dinner next on 1620 The Zone.
Look, I made you some
Unsportsmanlike
content.
Unsportsmanlike content.
Unsportsmanlike content.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie.
Tortillas. When you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Crust is good on your pizza, not your ass.
I will eat your ass first.
And I think we're going to serve McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King.
And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down.
And I would think that's their favorite food.
I'm ready to hang them up, gut them, and skin them, and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors.
All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, tortillas, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you.
Cliff, what are you going to take away as your best memory from playing basketball at Boston College?
Probably just like
tortillas,
going out to eat.
Well, yesterday I had a President T dinner because the wife didn't cook, so I stopped at Mickey D's. And I got a McDouble, a McChicken, and a fry.
Let's go. Was it good?
The McChicken, now I know McChicken, it's not like the premium chicken sandwich like you can get at a lot of other places, but there is something unique about the McChicken. It's kind of got this very peppery flavor to it.
Even the mild one still has a nice little kick to it, I think.
But this one last night was very disappointing. I was expecting it. I was expecting that little peppery back end kick, and it wasn't there. By the way, as I was thinking about where I was going to go, because the wife called and said, "Yeah, I didn't cook. I had a Pilates class. I had to do this, blah blah blah." So I'm going through my mind, where am I going to go? I immediately eliminated from my list anything that included produce.
Understandable.
Because I am deathly afraid, ever since my son got the diarrhea, that might be the thing that's going around. I'm like, I'm kind of staying away from that stuff right now. So that's why I went a little vegetable free last night.
We call it the Damon Benning, I think. Damon, shout out to Damon. He's like, look, I've been preparing for this my whole life. I'm making all the right decisions. I got to get going. I got to get down to the movie theater. And so I brought a sandwich that I'm going to eat along the way. I'm going to eat a sandwich on my drive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last night we did a chicken with mixed veggies and rice. I don't know what's going on tonight. We got a pack, so it might be something quick.
That's right. Nick is gone tomorrow. He will not be joining us on the Grum.
I won't be joining you in person, but I'm working on something, and maybe I'll still be here in spirit.
Interesting.
And maybe it'll pay off. And maybe it'll pay off for you.
Oh.
Speaking of what's for dinner, we might be delivering some Arby's to you for dinner tomorrow.
What?
So stay tuned for that. Also coming up tomorrow, of course, it's a Friday, which means it's the movie club. Patton is the movie this week. Kent Wolgamott, of course, will be with us. Jack Mitchell, the Super Friends Roundtable, and a whole lot more. So looking forward to it.
That is going to be absolutely awesome, John. And Nick will be gone, gallivanting around the world. What is this, a concert, Nick?
It's a concert. We're going to Milwaukee. Got a concert tomorrow, and then we're gonna catch a Brewers game on Saturday, then come back Sunday.
Baseball, Nick. Are you gonna bring yourself back a baseball?
I might.
Nice.
Maybe a hat just to troll John.
Not classic Nick. Classic Nick.
Well, go whoever's playing against the Brewers.
The Marlins.
Oh,
John
God.
hates them too.
Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So go Marlins, I guess. All right, that'll do it. Thanks a lot for joining us. Look forward to tomorrow. It's a 1 Beer Friday. So be good. Josh, enjoy the film.
Thanks, John.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I can't wait. Nick, drive safe.
Thank you.
Tell your wife hi.
I will. I hope you see good things in the Odyssey.
I can't wait to talk about it with you next week when you're back.
Nice.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.